He probably would have just fought somebody else.
Like, he would go to Dagobah to train with Yoda, and he would have no point of leaving that training because he doesn't have a dad.
He doesn't learn it's his dad until the end of the movie.
I know, but he would not have...
Sorry,
He's fatherless and alone.
This training isn't going to work. You don't have a dad.
Welcome to Galaxy Bound Podcast. So this is the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, which is just crazy to think about that it's already been 20 years. We are going to talk about our thoughts and feelings on this movie throughout this whole show, but we're going to kind of go through different points of the plot and just discuss different things that I have written down here. And I'm going to start off with a long intro, but it's a good introduction to what the movie is about and how it fits into the overall Star Wars franchise and sets up what we're going to discuss. So, Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith is a cinematic exploration of tragedy on a grand scale. The film depicts the collapse of the Galactic Republic, the rise of the evil empire, and the heart-wrenching transformation of Anakin Skywalker into the iconic villain Darth Vader. These events unfold against a backdrop of escalating conflict and political turmoil, culminating in a climax that would forever alter the course of the Star Wars saga. I'm out of breath already. As the concluding chapter of a trilogy that had already polarized fans and critics alike, Revenge of the Sith carried the immense weight of expectation and the daunting task of resolving numerous narrative threads and character arcs. It was crucial in shaping the overall legacy of the prequel trilogy and its place within the broader Star Wars universe, providing a satisfying conclusion to the story of Anakin Skywalker while also bridging the gap between the prequel era and the events of the original trilogy. The film's exploration of Anakin's fall to the dark side is a central theme, delving into the character's internal conflict, his fears and vulnerabilities, and the manipulation he endures at the hands of his mentor, Challenger? Chancellor Palpatine.
Challenger Palpatine.
This downfall is juxtaposed with the broader political narrative highlighting the corruption and fragility of democratic institutions and the seductive allure of authoritarianism.
Yep.
Yeah. I wrote it and I can't even say it. Episode 3 is an epic adventure of dramatic intensity featuring visually stunning lightsaber duels, large-scale battles, and emotionally resonant performances, and is a testament to George Lucas's ambition and his enduring vision and legacy for the Star Wars saga. Now, 20 years after its release, we look back on Revenge of the Sith with a deep dive on our thoughts on the film, the themes, characters, and its long-lived legacy on Star Wars and us as fans. So, what was the general feeling? And this is mostly for us because you were like 4 when this came out.
Yeah.
But you could talk
crazy.
about your experience too as a child.
Okay.
I mean, we were children too, but
Yeah.
we were, I was 13, right?
Yeah. I
12?
think I was
I was
like
12.
just going into high school.
Yeah, you were 15. So, or
What year did it come
14,
out?
2005.
It was, yeah.
Around that time. So we were like around like early teens age, which is kind of like the demographic that George Lucas kind of aims Star Wars towards for the most part. So we were kind of like the perfect age.
As a franchise or just this film?
As his franchise. Definitely not this film. But still a little bit too. But what do you remember of that time of like the hype and the lead up to the release and even like maybe post-release? Because we all knew that it was going to be the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
But we as kids didn't really think about that in the moment, I don't think.
No, yeah. I mean, well, kind of. I mean, this was a franchise that like our dad and like our parents, you know, introduced us to.
Yeah.
And this was like the final concluding puzzle piece for something that has lasted like almost 30 years. 40 years, whatever.
40.
At that point. Yeah.
Well, yeah, at that point, not quite 40.
And
40 was recently.
so, yeah, there was a ton of hype around this. This was like, for all intents and purposes at that time, I don't think really anybody knew that there was going to be more after this.
No, I mean, he had said that it was the last one.
Yeah. And so it was like the final thing. Like, this is what fans have been waiting for since the 80s. And yeah, it was big.
I mean, not only was it big for that, but like the prequels for our age group was huge. And so getting the final chapter of that story was a really big deal too, because we had grown up with Obi-Wan and Anakin as our heroes for a few years then.
Yeah.
And so
Dressed up as them many times for Halloween.
yeah, I was always Obi-Wan and he was always Anakin.
Yeah.
And so it was a big for both generations, I think. And for like the older generations who didn't really resonate with the prequels like we did, and you know, they're notorious for, you know, the older generations thinking that the prequels were bad and whatever. This was kind of like the last
Heresy.
This was kind of like the last chance to redeem that.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately it succeeded in doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly the best of them all. I think all of us in this room agree with that.
Right.
But I think a lot of like prequel haters would agree with that too, that it is it just takes everything like 10 steps forward.
Yeah.
In terms of like production value and even the dialogue. Like all the dialogue isn't perfect, but like compared to the other two movies and yeah, just everything about it ended up being so good. But yeah, I remember not just like the expectations, but like the marketing. And you could say that about the whole prequel era, where the marketing was just like, their budget for marketing was insane.
Yeah.
But you would have like branded, Star Wars branded things.
Everything.
You name it and it had a Star Wars brand on it.
You would go to like a Walmart or anything, and just everywhere you turned, it was that, like candy, cereal boxes, the toy aisle, bikes, like every single thing was just Star Wars
stuff that you wouldn't even think about. Like
I remember
a toilet plunger.
Yeah. I don't remember when, but like we got a cereal that had like the lightsaber spoons.
Yes.
Those were cool. I remember that as a kid.
Yeah, I actually think that was episode 2.
I think it was episode 1.
No, I think it was episode 2 because it had a purple one for Mace Windu.
It might have been both, because I remember we had a Darth Maul one.
It might have just been a generic, like it wasn't just for a specific movie, like it had these characters.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, maybe it was both.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but I remember those spoons too. We used those for, because they would change colors whenever you'd put them in milk. Yeah, it was crazy. And I just remember, like, since we were kids, like a lot of our only interaction with other fans was at school. And so everyone was talking about it. I mean, even people that considered Star Wars like the nerdy thing, like you'd hear them admitting that they went and saw it.
Yeah.
And like nowadays, that's not as much of a thing. Like Star Wars is bigger than, just for the nerds these days. But back then, it was kind of a big deal. Like I would get made fun of all the time for liking Star Wars. But then you hear like the cool kids talking about it. Like, okay, so that it's cool. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of if there were like any like rumors or like theories before the movie came out. Do you remember anything?
The only thing that I can really remember is like everybody knew that somehow they had to have Anakin turn into Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And so like that was just like, how are they going to do that? Like how is he going to like, how are they going to depict that? And like, how are they going to connect it? Are they going to connect it like right up to the very end or right up to the very beginning of,
A New Hope.
A New Hope. Thank you. Or are they gonna like have to have another film to like connect those two? Like there were like some rumors of like, is this actually the final piece, or are they like teasing that they're gonna like split this into like two films? Or it wasn't like huge rumors, but it was kind of more of just like questions.
Yeah, I think there probably were random theories and rumors like on the internet back then, but like people that were on the internet doing that back then was not like it is today, where like
right,
not very many people were doing that.
Right.
Like not very many people were, especially on the internet in general, but then also theorizing about Star Wars. So
yeah,
that was a very small group, but some of that stuff I learned about later. But I can't think of anything right now. I probably could have looked it up, but it was all like we already knew the general premise, like you said. Like we knew Anakin had to turn into Darth Vader, and we did know that him and Obi-Wan were supposed to fight, because that's something that George had set up back in the 70s or whatever, like when he was talking about the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like, yeah, they fought each other on a lava planet, and fans like lost their mind, and like that's what the lead up to this was such a big deal. Like fans back then had been waiting decades for this moment, and so we knew that much at least. But yeah, I don't know. But I do remember that Lego Star Wars and Revenge of the Sith, the video game, came out before the movie came out. And I remember we got Lego Star Wars before we saw the movie.
Really?
Yeah. That game right there. Because it includes some things from the deleted scenes. So it was like they made the game before the movie was actually finished editing completely.
Interesting.
And so the same thing with the video game. The main video game has deleted scenes in it as well, as just part of the main story.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, I'm pretty sure, maybe this is just a memory that I made up, but I already knew about the, like, Anakin versus Obi-Wan thing happening, because I was, like, on the internet back then. But I'm pretty sure when we got that game and you played it, you were like, what, they fight?
Yeah.
They're not supposed to fight, they're friends. And so I know you weren't the only one that happened to. I have read about tons of people that had that experience of, like, playing the game and like, what? It just spoils the whole movie?
Yeah, I'm surprised they were allowed to do that.
Yeah.
For both of those games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be like an allowed to do, because like that would be like Lucasfilms kind of like allowing it to happen. But it probably was like in today's like Hollywood climate, like that would absolutely destroy your like credibility as a movie making plan.
I agree.
Well, I don't know about that. I think a lot of what Hollywood is today with that kind of thing, where like everything has to be a secret, is really just tied to Star Wars and Marvel, where like the secrets are kept so tight that like people are threatened with like not only losing their jobs, but like losing their entire careers over like if they like leak certain things. But like that's not how the industry always was. But Star Wars is the one that kind of has always been like that. So it is still surprising. Yeah. But obviously, like you said, like they would have let it happen.
Yeah.
Not like they didn't know it was going to happen.
It's not like Lego pulled a fast one and it's like...
But, you know, it's always like, especially with video games, and especially with a Lego video game, they view it as a kid's thing, like as a toy.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Like, the kids are going to not even comprehend what's going on.
Yeah. But we did.
And, like,
because
it wasn't just for kids.
15 years old playing a Lego video game.
And it's one of the best Lego games to ever be made.
Well, it was the first first franchised video game to be made.
Yeah.
Lego video game.
Too good.
It started a big trend. But they thought video games were like toys for kids. But like even back then it turned out, you know, not just kids play video games.
And that's even bigger today.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true today, but yeah. That's just, you know, what old people think. So what does Revenge of the Sith do in a unique way that stands out among the other films? And we can go just by like the original trilogy and prequels at that time, and then maybe like a second half of the question would be like franchise wide today. What does it do differently, or what do you think its like unique flavor is? And you could start by saying it's the only one that's been PG-13 at that time.
Yeah.
And that alone says that it does a little more unique things with the whole burning someone alive aspect and killing children.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a notch up on the intensity meter.
Yeah.
In many different scenes, not even just like the final scene.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of suggestive material in this one that weren't in any of the other ones.
Right, and it's darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say like darker, but like you see Anakin slowly separating and deciding things for himself, whether they're right or wrong. Like you see him fall more into the dark side, and you haven't seen that before in the other two prequels.
Well, you see it in
but
Clone
like
Wars. Or not Clone
you see the world around him also like separating because Palpatine's doing his stuff. Like
in episode 2 you don't see Palpatine's perspective of manipulating things. You only see like Anakin's internal like battles with a few moments. Yeah. But then in episode 3, this is my answer to this. I think you see like 4 or 5 different perspectives of things that's happening in the film that you don't get in any of the other films. You have storylines happening in multiple things, but like in this film, you see like Master Windu and Yoda and Obi-Wan like talking with one another, feeling that like oncoming presence. That's a perspective of things that they didn't know it was Anakin at the time, but like they knew something was wrong. And then you also see all of the internal stuff that Anakin's doing, and then you also have like this whole like Padmé perspective of like her slowly seeing Anakin change into something that she doesn't recognize anymore. And then Palpatine is like pulling all the strings, and you actually get to see that. It's not like they don't ever show that in the film. You actually see him doing these things.
Yeah.
And that's unique. That's hard to pull off, to have all of that happening all at once and do it in one film.
I was going to say, like, in one film, having that many things happening all at once in the galaxy, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing about the movie is, like, so much happens in, like, what is it, a 4-day span?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
No,
you idiot.
I say it like that because I recently saw a Reddit post about that, and there was a lot of good discussion in it.
The way you said it. No.
I think the general consensus is it happened over a series of months, possibly like a year in total.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because
I wouldn't have guessed that.
I've always heard like 4 to 5 days.
days.
Yeah.
I mean, Order 66 would have taken that long at a minimum to find all those Jedi and kill them. That would have not taken just a day.
Well, I don't know that part of the story. I don't think viewers would have assumed that part of the story was wrapped up from the moment that.
No, that's what I'm saying is like.
But like even at the end when like Palpatine goes and finds Anakin's body, it's not like the Jedi have all been like exterminated.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not speaking literally. I'm just saying as an example. Like, it feels like a very short period of time when you're watching it. But, like, the more you think about it, the more it makes more sense for it to go for a longer period of time. Like, when Obi-Wan goes to find General Grievous, and he just happens to find him immediately.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like, that would have happened probably over a course of a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks of him like trying to find him.
Staking out Utapau.
Like he just happens to go into that one hole that he was in.
Yeah.
Like he probably went to multiple and was working with the clones and like intelligence and like all that kind of stuff. That probably took a while. But one of the other things is now that we have the Siege of Mandalore in the Clone Wars and knowing that probably took the course of a few weeks, and that was happening during Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Then that alone would have confirmed that it took more than just a few days.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple parts in the movie where they like cut to things, and not that it's assumed, but like me as the viewer thinking like, okay, like a week has passed, or
like this is a jump. Yeah. Which isn't bad. Like, it does it really well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think it's definitely longer than you kind of, like, think that it is on the surface.
Yeah.
Well, still, all that stuff happening, and they showcase that in a 3-hour movie. Is impressive.
Yes.
Because it doesn't feel like it shoves it down your throat. Like, they just, like, lay it all out. It's nice. It all fits together. Like,
now there are some that it does feel rushed.
Yes.
That they wish this was split into two, maybe even three. But I think to be able to fit this all in one film, when you've got studios today that are doing multiple season shows that have the same style of like world building. I'm thinking like Game of Thrones and like some of those like multi storyline shows or even movies, and they have to do that across, multiple filmmaking sessions. To be able to do this in one film is unique and impressive.
Yep. Yeah. Because it's not always done well.
Yeah.
And feels cohesive.
Yeah. I mean, if you got like a pen and paper and just off the top of your head started writing down like all of the things that happen in this film, it is insane.
Probably a full notebook.
I mean, you have things on Kashyyyk. You've got things on like Mustafar. You've got things in Coruscant. Like, I mean, there's just so much that's happening, and you're like, they fit all this into one movie? What?
Yeah. And the movie wasn't 4 hours long.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Even
like
though
that,
it should have been.
That one meme picture of the red lines and it all comes together.
Yeah. Charlie Day. Yeah.
That's what this movie feels like.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I watched the like, it wasn't like a making of, but it was like kind of showing like what all it takes to make just one scene in this movie, and it's the Mustafar scene, just the battle itself. And they said it takes like over 600 people on the production teams collectively, and it took them like months just to do one scene because it was the most in-depth, like production-wise scene, because of CGI and choreography and set building and just for one scene. It's like insane.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it wraps up the prequels in a good way that like resonates with fans' sentiments towards the story, or do you think it falls a little short of that? Like, does it
at the time, not right now, right?
I mean, I would say both. That shouldn't really change your answer because
changes my answer.
Oh,
because because if you're relying on external media, then that would be a no either way.
No, so here's why I say it is a yes to both of those. So I think it at the time it hit it right on the bullseye. Everybody was like overall like very happy with it. It like connected all of the dots. It led up right to the beginning of like A New Hope, like Darth Vader's right here. Like, okay, now like we know.
We see the Death Star being built.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, perfect connection. The only question at that time that hadn't been answered, I guess, for fans is like, okay, well, what about that in like entire like Clone Wars that just they skipped over?
Yeah.
And so at that time, like I would say like it resonated and it hit everything. But looking back on it now, it's like, okay, well, there was an area where it like kind of fell pretty short. Is like it skipped like a decade of events that were pretty important to the plot of the story and had a lot of
3
like
years.
3 years,
right?
From Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith? Yeah, 3 years.
3 years, yeah. Which is crazy.
A decade full.
Yeah, a decade of film worthiness of stuff. But yeah, okay, so 3 actual years in the story of events and the actual like Clone Wars. And yeah.
I agree. It does.
But if here's the gray area. If the Clone Wars animated series had never been made, and that actually was truly like the final piece that like was ever made of Star Wars ever again, I think fans would still be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I never back then thought anything about the Clone Wars. Like,
no, yeah,
and when that show came out, and the like movie came out, I was like, what in the world? Like, I don't care about that. I'm not gonna watch that.
Yeah,
because not only because it was a cartoon, and I just I was past that age where like I just didn't care about like the cartoons, and it was really cheesy. I was like, okay, like we saw what we needed to see in the movies. Like that's all I care about.
Yeah.
And when I was watching the movie before then, I didn't think about it.
Yeah, no, not at all. But now that it exists, now that the Clone Wars series does exist, it like exposed an area of the film where it fell short.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I say yes to both.
I guess I have a follow-up question for that situation. If the Clone Wars show was made prior to Revenge of the Sith, how does Revenge of the Sith hold up to that storyline?
it would have like been even better, I think.
Think so?
Yeah. Because you would have even had more story building.
Yeah.
And more anticipation of like what's to come. And you probably would have seen Ahsoka in the film.
Yeah.
True.
There would have been a little more connective tissue there.
Yeah.
We would have seen more clone personality and
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's an interesting question. What would Revenge of the Sith look like differently had that been released after the Clone Wars series?
I mean, the Cartoon Network one did. I guess I could have included that in the things that came out before the movie, but that was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The Clone Wars cartoon did have like that second season led up right to episode 3.
Yeah.
Before we even saw it, like it shows Grievous capturing Palpatine.
I wish I would watch those again. I haven't seen the second season of it. I've only seen that first one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You used to watch that on repeat.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
That first season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have the second season. We just watched it on TV.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. But yeah, that is an interesting question. I should have put that in the what if section later on too, but yeah, I mean, that would have been, I mean, I don't know.
The movie would be very different.
It would be, yeah, in a good way, for sure.
Yeah.
Was the emotional impact of this film different from the other prequels, or did it feel like a natural progression of the narrative? I think the answer is pretty obvious. Like, the emotional impact of this film is unlike any of the others.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene between Anakin and Obi-Wan in that last fight
makes you cry.
Yeah. No matter how many times I see it, I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
And like, it's hard to watch for me because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is one of the like most emotional scenes in film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets dismissed a lot because of the older fans, just dismiss the prequels inherently. But yeah, it's peak cinema.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my opinion. But yeah. So that's an easy answer for that one. So the next section is going to be talking about the rise and fall of Anakin. Does one of you want to read that paragraph?
I can. Anakin Skywalker's fall to the dark side has been the core tension of the prequel trilogy, and Revenge of the Sith is where we see it finally unfold. His shift from a heroic Jedi Knight to the most feared evil Sith Lord in the galaxy is meant to be a heartbreaking moment. Was it the fear of losing those he loved that made him vulnerable to Palpatine's manipulation, or were there deeper flaws with Anakin that led to his eventual betrayal?
That's a rhetorical question. Because now we'll go into, do you think the film does a good job at making Anakin's fall feel inevitable, or does it feel more like a sudden shift? Which this is one of the criticisms that a lot of people do have.
Yeah.
But how do you guys feel about that? Not counting, like you can't count the Clone Wars in with this.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you don't have that, then my opinion would be it's definitely more of a sudden shift. Because it kind of has to for the movie. Because we just mentioned all of these things are happening at once. So it just makes it feel that way.
If in the film they made it more obvious that more time had passed in between each of the little moments where he does like make the shift, I don't think it would feel as rushed, but because the film doesn't make it super obvious that time has passed in some of those like cuts, there's some moments that you're like like you just said, like you thought it was like a couple days. It's like, like realistically, like would someone of his like caliber actually shift it like that far in just a couple days?
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible because, you know, whatever, but
just thinking of like, if you work for a job that you keep getting passed up on time and time again, like he does in the movie.
Does he?
I mean,
at least twice
over the years he does. And then in this movie,
does he?
Yeah.
More than once? More than what we saw?
Well, if you include the Clone Wars.
I'm not including the Clone Wars.
Okay. In the film, I think it's only twice.
Yeah. And then he makes some poor decisions, like killing Count Dooku. And then, I don't know, he just loses trust. So, like, if you're in a job where people start losing trust or your trust, I can see you not enjoying being around them.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But in a matter of days, then that doesn't make sense. So now that we've discussed that it's over months, then it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
What was the original question that we were answering?
Sudden shift.
Yeah, do you think his fall is a sudden shift? His turn to the dark side?
I think what the sudden shift was actually, it's not a sudden shift. Sorry.
Oh.
Hold on. Let me think here. He's got these two different paths that he's like building better relationships with. He's got the council that he's trying to woo and build trust, but then he also has the chancellor. And both of them keep taking steps forward, but they're going in opposite directions. Right. And eventually he gets to the point where he finds out that the one person that he has trusted second most behind Obi-Wan is the Sith Lord. And he goes to the other people that he has trusted to tell that this is the Sith Lord. And in his mind,
trust him.
Huh?
And they don't even trust him at this point. Yeah.
He's like, this is the final piece that will get me like granted to be master. Like, I've just outed the Sith Lord. And they slap at him in the face with it. And so he's like, all right, I'll join him then. I mean, it didn't happen like that, but I don't think. No.
Because he just says, Mace tells him, if what you have told me is true, then you have gained my trust.
Yeah.
And I think that was good, and that would have been a step forward to like resolving their beef. But the other part of that path is the reason he was with Palpatine, and the reason why he would want Palpatine is because Palpatine promised him power to save Padmé. And so his fear of loss takes over.
Son of a gun.
Yeah. So I don't think it's sudden. I think they do a good job through the film of like planting these little seeds or showing that seeds are being planted in his mind of Palpatine creating like fear in all these different areas of things that he's insecure about.
Yeah.
And it's subtle every single time until the very end of the film. So
until it's not subtle.
Yes, yeah. So I don't think it's like a sudden shift. Of course, the actual like fall feels sudden because then all the dominoes fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he makes the decision. Like, it wasn't like, well, I mean, it's kind of like when he kills the Sand People in episode 2. It's like, that was bad, but like, he's not magically a Sith Lord after that. It's like, he made a mistake and it was a moment of weakness, and like, he allegedly doesn't do it again until he does. You know, it's like, it's kind of like that. But then that moment of him making that decision of like, because you're going against, you have the two different paths and you're going against one or the other.
Okay, I agree with you then, because it's just the movie, it's the dominoes. That's what got me.
Yeah.
It's like,
The actual fall itself.
Just like that.
Some would say that even feels rushed because that all happens within like 10 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
But there's so much groundwork that happens in little moments throughout the film to build up to that.
Right.
That I just don't think people either recognize or they don't appreciate of like the writing of it. But it's
or
good.
they don't recognize that it has been taking place over years.
Yeah.
Like starting with even just episode 1, like hit with his fear of losing his mother or like leaving his mother. And then episode 2, we see it just getting worse and worse. But that also goes back to one of the criticisms people have is like, we either needed a 4th movie in there or episode 2 should have been episode 1 and then we should have had
2 Revenge of the Siths.
Yeah.
2 Revenges of the Sith.
I still think we should get a show in between 1 and 2. Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Like an animated show?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Young Annie.
It would be
Training.
a gold mine.
Yeah.
I mean, those young adult books that
So
I've got a stack of them down there.
Yeah.
The Jedi Quest books were so good with that.
Yeah.
Just showing their like early relationship and training and Obi-Wan learning how to be a master and Anakin learning how to be a Jedi and a Padawan. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What role do you think Anakin's relationship with Obi-Wan plays in his eventual fall? Was their dynamic handled in a way that made the tragedy feel earned?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all on the same page with this one. Because the whole tragedy is like their best friends and brothers, and also like father and son. Like they have like the 3 of the tightest relationship statuses.
Yeah.
And master and Padawan, teacher and apprentice. Like I guess that's 4.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that's the greatest tragedy, I think, other than him also killing Padmé by accident. But
yeah, I think what is interesting about this film, and like, of course it happens in episode 2 as well, but it doesn't really happen a ton in the Clone Wars, is Anakin and Obi-Wan don't spend a ton of time together in this film.
yeah,
I agree.
So there's what happens is a lot of these moments where Anakin is like struggling, Obi-Wan is not there to like help walk him through or like let him vent or talk with him to get him back to reality or back to like thinking the Jedi way. And instead he's left with these like gaps of time to just let his mind run.
Yeah.
And the Chancellor is the one that is advising him rather than his mentor and master.
Yeah. Like he doesn't even go to Padmé as often as he should for advice.
Yeah.
He goes to Palpatine.
Yeah. So I think their relationship in this film might be one of like the sole reasons why it happened.
Yes.
Because Obi-Wan was not there to help him.
Yeah.
Plus, as they drifted apart during this movie, I think his jealousy of Obi-Wan, just like in the scene we just looked at, he got picked over him because he had more experience. I just think that comes into play too. Like near the end, like he just has more pride. That is his eventual downfall. So
yeah, we talked about that. Was it last episode?
Yeah, but we talked about it with Darth Maul, which I guess that's we did.
But you brought up like Anakin in the novel mentions that he's always jealous or like thinks he's better than Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Which I just, you don't really see that in the movies. You see it in Clone Wars a little bit here and there. But it's more of like a friendly jesting kind of way.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like him actually believing that he's better than Obi-Wan.
Yeah, no.
So, I don't know about that still.
But he definitely has pride in their fight.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Obi-Wan.
For sure.
You see that.
He says it.
He says it.
You are no match for me.
I am better than you, and I am proud.
I'm just thinking of the video game voice.
Oh.
You are no match for me. It's so like monotone.
That voice actor's not that great. There was something else I was going to say about that.
Well, you said you disagree?
Disagree with what?
No. He disagreed with
the
fact that...
Yeah, I just don't think that he's as prideful as maybe the novel was kind of hinting at. But I don't know. We talked about that last time, so we don't have to go through that again. But I can't remember what else I was going to say about that.
Well, I was going to say, if you think about that perspective of like their relationship was just non-existent in this film, like they just didn't spend enough time with one another. If you subscribe to that theory and you would assume that Obi-Wan knew that makes that final fight hurt even more, knowing that like the words that he says, like, I failed you, you know, like that alone makes that like hurt even harder, because in his mind he's thinking like, I should have been there, like it was my fault, like. And then if you go to the Kenobi series,
that's all his guilt is from.
Yeah that fight hurt me more than episode 3 fight.
Really? Because you actually...
Yes, it's just so emotional. It's not as good of a fight,
but the emotional stakes,
the emotional parts are just harder.
He sees that he's just gone.
Yeah,
completely. Oh yeah, and you see him cry.
Yeah. Really well done.
Yeah,
in terms of that. But the other thing I was going to say, and I remember now, in this movie, Anakin isn't technically his Padawan. Like, he's a Jedi Knight in this movie.
True. Yeah.
And so it really kind of just comes back to the reason why he probably wasn't made a master. It's because he clearly isn't ready for it if he's reliant on his master still to be stable.
Yeah.
And to make decisions.
Like, if he was made a master in this movie, him afterwards... and like being sent on a mission, really messing up something.
Yeah. And like we see him messing up with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars time and time again as a master to her. So like he clearly was not ready for that.
When we played the Monopoly with the Legos and Anakin and Ahsoka were in jail.
Yeah, we were playing Monopoly and we were using the Legos as like the Monopoly pieces. And we had Obi-Wan and Anakin and Ahsoka Legos. And who went to jail first?
I did.
So Anakin went to jail first.
Then Ahsoka.
And then Ahsoka immediately afterwards. And then I was Obi-Wan and I was just right outside jail, but already past them. Like, okay, you did what you did.
I just was like, oh, that makes sense.
Like, perfect. Face your consequences. Yeah, so I think that's an interesting thing to keep in mind, that, you know, he was made Jedi Knight probably too early, and clearly wasn't ready to be a master.
Yeah.
So,
well, everything about him becoming a Jedi was forced.
Yes,
and that is also true.
Also, going back to Ahsoka, she has a similar path of like they're just promoting these kids because it's wartime, promoting them to be commanders and generals in an army. It's like, no, this is how you create serial killers.
Yeah. This reminds me of the book Brotherhood.
Yeah, I still need to read that.
You would like it, even though you hate reading. Apparently,
you could listen to it.
It's
You ever do audiobooks? Yeah.
It's just about Anakin.
The Star Wars ones are really good.
Yeah.
Because they have like voice actors and like sound effects and music. So it's like listening to a movie, kind of.
Oh, nice.
Not all of them, but most of them these days do.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Well, I knew the voice actors. I know about the music.
Some of them do, yeah.
That's cool. But yeah, it's about Anakin becoming a knight and then being sent on his first mission as a knight.
You know the scene in this movie where they're like keeping track of how many times Anakin has saved Obi-Wan, and then Obi-Wan's like, that business on Caden Nemodia doesn't count. That book explains what that business on Caden Nemodia was.
Saves his butt. For sure.
Nice.
But it doesn't count. Apparently.
False. It does.
It's funny.
Yeah, I need to read that.
It's good, yeah.
So this is probably a dumb question for somebody who loves Star Wars and who loves the character of Anakin. But does Anakin know that he is allegedly the chosen one? He does know that.
He gets made fun of it a lot when he's a Padawan in the temple. He gets bullied for it, basically. Yeah. And that's one of his fears, is not being able to like meet the expectations of that role, because he doesn't know what the heck that means.
Yeah.
Other than it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
The end goal is to bring balance to the Force, but who knows what that means? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's explored.
Because they don't ever say that in the films.
No. Right.
And so that's like, if you assume that he doesn't know that, but everyone else around him knows that, then it kind of makes his fall feel more tragic rather than like inevitable. But if he knows,
yeah, he definitely knows,
then it kind of makes it more prophetic
that he falls to the dark side. How so? Because some would say it's just ironic. Because
so if you think about it from the perspective of, if he knows he's the chosen one the whole time, then everything about him becoming a Jedi and doing everything is forced, and everyone around him is second guessing every decision because this is the chosen one, and like he's probably second guessing every decision he makes because I'm the chosen one. Like, am I doing this right? Am I supposed to be doing this yet? Am I behind? Am I whatever? So like prophetic in the way that like it's obvious this was going to happen because you weren't really even supposed to be a Jedi, but because one Jedi said you were the chosen one, then
I see what you're
everything about you has been forced upon.
Yeah.
But if you think about it from the perspective of he has no idea, but everyone else around him knows that he's the chosen one or assumes that he's the chosen one, then it makes it feel more tragic because everything was being done to him rather than like him having any say, really. Like, he became a Jedi because of, like, somebody saying, train him. And then every step of the way, Obi-Wan is trying to figure out what's the right thing I'm supposed to be doing with this chosen one. Like, is he...
Well, I think those two things are for sure, like, a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do know that prophecy, or prophecies in general, weren't always like taken all that seriously. Even in this movie, when Obi-Wan asks Yoda and Mace about it, like, is he the chosen one? And then Mace is like, so the prophecy says. And then Yoda's like, prophecy misread could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not too sure about it, not only of him being it, but also probably they are not taking that prophecy completely seriously either, because, like, it's a prophecy.
Yeah. That was one thing about the film that I like.
The whole chosen one thing is a little up in the air.
Yeah, because you never know what that means.
Yeah.
Like, what does bring balance to the Force mean? They never say.
Yeah, well, and even the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars, which is supposed to, like, further explain his role in it, just made it so much more confusing.
Yeah.
With, like, the father and the son and the daughter.
Yeah.
Like, him supposed to be taking the role of the father to keep them in balance, but then he kills them instead. Or something like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, basically, the Jedi believed that the prophecy of bringing balance was no dark side.
Did they?
That's what I thought. Like, that's what I don't remember where I got that, but I'm pretty sure.
I think that's what most people think.
Well, how I would think of it is both sides are even.
Right.
Dark and light.
And they balance each other out?
Yes.
Yeah. Which that's something they kind of explore in the sequels a little bit.
There's the same prophecy for the Sith too, right?
I don't know.
Of, like, the chosen one bringing balance to the Force.
I don't know. I mean, if it is, it's not in canon, as far as I know.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know.
I think that is explored where he's getting made fun of for being the chosen one in the Jedi Quest books.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say when we talked about that, that's mostly legend stuff. But I think it's mentioned in some canon stuff, too, that he gets made fun of for it.
Mm.
But, yeah, the whole chosen one thing is just kind of strange, because, like, George, I think, contradicts himself in many places when people ask about it. Like, yeah, Anakin was the chosen one. He became, Darth Vader, but then he ended up killing Palpatine, so, like, he brought balance to the Force. Like, yeah, but how does that bring balance to the Force?
Yeah.
Because you killed the dark side. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just kind of one of those overly religious, ancient prophecies that don't really make that much sense. I mean, there's a lot of those in lots of religions in real life too, where, like, yeah, you could say something like that's going to happen, and, like, then thousands and thousands of years go by and nothing ever happens like that.
Right.
Or, like, it doesn't really mean anything, or, like, it's super vague, or so I don't know.
Yeah.
We could probably do a whole podcast episode on, like, dissecting the chosen one prophecy.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting. We can maybe do that someday.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on, we kind of already covered this. In your opinion, does Anakin's emotional struggle come through clearly in the film, or is it overshadowed by the larger events unfolding? Did we see enough in the previous films to believe it in this one?
Yeah.
We kind of covered that already.
Yeah.
It definitely comes through. Could be better, but yeah. Okay, the next section. Spencer, you want to read this one?
Revenge of the Sith not only focuses on Anakin, but also serves as the grim chronicle of the Republic's collapse, with Order 66 wiping out the Jedi and seizing of ultimate power by Palpatine. The shift from a democratic republic to an authoritarian empire is swift and brutal.
You knew how to say the word. Do you think the film did a good job at showing the political power struggle, and did it adequately show how the Empire came to power? Because that might be something that some people say is a very quick shift of going from the Republic with a chancellor but a Senate to suddenly
what does he call himself? The Grand. After he's been like.
After he was attacked.
Yeah. What does he call himself in front of like the Senate?
He just says that he's restructuring the Republic into the Galactic Empire, into the first Galactic Empire.
Yeah.
And gives all power to himself.
No, that happens before.
Oh, yeah, so that's the thing, right. Is that I don't think it was.
No, I don't. To answer the question, no, I don't think it does a good job.
Oh, I think it does, because it's still swift. Like, it still happens fast, but you see the events of the phases.
Yeah, you see why. And a lot of that was set up in episode 2 with the emergency powers that Jar Jar gives him.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Jar Jar, it was the whole Senate, but
no, it's just Jar Jar.
Here, have these emergency powers.
Darth Jar Jar.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was like the first big step in him basically already being an emperor in the first place.
Yeah.
Him calling it an empire just kind of was a rebrand. So I do think it was not a sudden shift, which isn't what this is asking, but that's part of it, I think. But I do think it could have done a little bit better in showing the change. But that happens like towards the end of the movie, and there's so much more important things going on. Like the movie's more about Anakin.
Yeah.
And we needed to see more of that, but yeah. I'm not sure what else they could have done, honestly.
I like it how it is.
Yeah.
I think. I really wouldn't want to see more politics in the movie, because it already is a lot of politics. Whether that's
like 3
the
scenes.
Actual Senate.
I think this one has the least amount of politics than the other two.
I still think it has a lot of like the Jedi politics side too.
Well, yeah.
Which I still consider,
I guess so,
politics. So,
fair.
Speaking of, a hot debate topic is how Palpatine was able to fool the Jedi for that long, as if the Jedi should have sensed the dark side, despite Yoda saying the dark side was clouding their senses. Do you think that line was enough to explain that, or do you think the answer is more complicated? Because a lot of people say, like, well, they're just idiots if they didn't sense that he was a Sith Lord this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, they're in the same room with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have liked to know a little bit more how he was able to do that.
Yeah. Like, hear it from him. Like maybe Anakin, like they should have had a long discussion with him and Anakin. Like,
yes, in that scene should have been a little bit longer.
Yeah. Because Anakin was probably curious about a lot of things once he found out that he was the Sith Lord.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Like, okay, so how did you do this and this and this?
Yeah.
Well, my boy. It all starts with Darth Plagueis the Wise.
I guess you could also kind of ask that same question for the Acolyte show, with all those Jedi coming into contact with that dark side user / Sith.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't sense that he has that dark side power
when they met him before they knew him. He was okay.
I feel like you would feel that.
Yeah, I think there's just some kind of like masking power that they know. But also they kind of imply that the dark side has kind of been, like, I don't remember how they say it, or maybe I'm thinking of like other external media saying this too, but like is like a swirling cloud above everything on Coruscant. And I think some of the books, maybe it's the novelization, explained it like it had just been so gradual over like so long of a period that they just didn't realize how bad it was getting. So that was one of the big explanations for that. Like, it wasn't just overnight, like, oh, dark side's here.
Yeah.
Knock.
So I think that makes a lot of sense. Because if it just all of a sudden appeared, like, yeah, they would have been like, okay, we need to find out where this is emanating from.
Yeah. Also feel like the last place they would check is their chancellor.
Or it's the first place you check.
Maybe.
Yeah, I agree. Especially like the history of previous chancellors, like they've always been great.
Yeah.
And like always like looked up to the Jedi and worked with them. But like I wouldn't expect the chancellor either, but then the more you like learn about him,
yeah,
like, oh, this guy's a douchebag. We should probably check him out. And like all of that stuff just seems way more real in today's world.
Yeah.
With the current political climate in this country. That's like, I don't want to get into that.
No.
But it's crazy.
Yeah.
I've been seeing so many posts, not to go back on this, but about how episode 1 with the Trade Federation blockade set up on Naboo.
Yes.
And the tariffs and everything.
Yes.
And how everyone's like, so you dismissed trade routes being blocked as a stupid plot point. What do you think now?
Yes.
What do all you critics think about that now?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. Anyways. Moving on, unless you have anything else to say about that.
No.
Moving on to visuals and the music score. I think it's still considered some of the best CGI of that era.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aware of like any edits that they've made to like the 4K release. So like if you watch it, that's what it was, and it still holds up, I think. That video I watched of the Mustafar scene creation, it was a documentary, so it was like them interviewing George and like all the other production people, and they were saying how like them shooting on HD video was so new back then, and was just a huge leap in the technology. And Lucasfilm is always the one to do that kind of stuff. Like, we wouldn't have like modern filmmaking or even like modern cameras on our phones or whatever, like if it wasn't for some of the stuff that Lucasfilm had done back then. And the prequels were a huge part of that. But when I was watching that documentary, the amount of work that goes into a production like that is just mind-blowing. And like, I can say that and be like, oh yeah, like of course, like it's a movie, like of course it takes a lot of work and blah blah blah.
Right.
But then you like see like behind the scenes, and like there's so many people, there's so many cables being run. Like I just think back to like this set in my like little studio right here. Like it's a nightmare just like making sure all these cables are run and like everything's hooked up to the computer and like everything's like all of the cameras are working. Then like do that times not 10, not 20, but like 100, maybe 1,000 times. It's like insane. And like they have people for every single thing. Like think of a job that's like small, like just like pressing the record button or making sure like just a camera alone has like 6 or 7 people on just one camera.
Yeah.
They have a person that his sole job is to make sure that the focus is correct.
Yeah.
And that's not the cameraman. They're called the focus setter or something like that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Like, it's just crazy. And all of that was just for that one scene. Not even the whole movie.
That's insane.
Yeah. I've been on set for a couple of commercials that were filmed for my brother-in-law. He works for Beck's Hybrids, and he's on their videography team. And I've been in a couple of their like commercials or video stuff. And their team is not big whatsoever, like comparison to like other major corporations that are out there. Like they're a pretty like small operation, like 4 or 5 people on their team.
Yeah.
But when they do like their scenes, like there's 3 people that are just working like the camera alone, and like then the 4th person is like working with the actors, and then the 5th person is just like maintaining everything and like directing everything. And but like the 3 people that are on the camera, like one's doing like the focus, one's doing the lighting, one is doing like the stop record, like, and that's just that's such a tiny scale compared to like Hollywood scenes. Like it's massive.
Star Wars is like known for being like the biggest production, like especially back then. And it's just like when I used to watch those types of videos, like I would always think like, oh, I'd love to like work for that. Like I would love to do that. But nowadays, like there's no way I could do that. Like, that would be so much stress. It would be fun probably, but you would never have like a moment to breathe. And they highlighted every single team. And they had a highlight for the team that was like for catering. And they said, these people come in and work for 12 hours every day, and they have 30 minutes to eat. So and everyone eats at the same time. So we have to create this whole meal, and then they all come in and eat for 30 minutes, and then they're back to work.
Wow.
For 12 hours.
That's crazy.
Like, you really have to believe in what you're doing to do that.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
So anyways, going to the music, I think that this is the best score of all of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people always gravitate towards the Duel of the Fates as the best score, like the best song or whatever that has come out of Star Wars, but I disagree. I mean, you get the Duel of the Fates in this one.
Yeah.
At the end.
Which one do you say is the best?
What, the best song?
Yeah, you said everybody gravitates towards Duel of the Fates, but you disagree.
Yeah, I think it's the Anakin versus Obi-Wan. I think it's better.
I agree.
And Battle of the Heroes, they kind of are together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll read this. George always wanted a new theme in each film, which if you think back of each film, you could probably think of a theme that was created for that film.
Yeah.
He wanted, for this film, he wanted Duel of the Fates, but more tragic sounding. And so John Williams delivered the best score of the franchise, in my opinion.
And Duel of the Fates is the theme from episode 1?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks up. Yeah.
Yeah. Which it does play that during that fight.
Uh-huh.
There's a
That's
section
part of it.
where it plays that song.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Really?
I think it's just part of the bigger song.
Yeah, but it's like it's
Yeah.
a section of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it indicative to what is, or connected to what's happening on screen?
So there's a theory.
Oh, I've never thought about that. Because usually the music is.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to include that theme, like
Well,
there's, yeah.
Hold on to your butt here. So there's a theory that Dave Filoni has said that he thinks that, which both George and John Williams, I don't think has ever said this, but this is, Dave Filoni being himself. He views Duel of the Fates as like a song all about the fate of Anakin's soul. Because every time we hear it, it has something related to that most of the time. So when it plays during this fight, they're, ultimately fighting over Anakin's soul, in an indirect sense, and the next time we hear it is when Anakin is on his speeder bike in episode 2, going to kill the Tuskens. It plays during that, which is a very important scene for his soul. And then it plays during that fight scene as well. Anakin versus Obi-Wan / Yoda versus Palpatine. It actually cues when Yoda is fighting Palpatine. I can see it in my head. I can bring it up. There it is. In my head, I was seeing Yoda do exactly that. This shows how many times I've watched this movie. Yeah, I think it just ends with them. So
I like this theory.
It's a good theory.
I like this theory because neither of those fights had anything to do with Anakin. Like, Anakin's not in the fights.
It's his masters.
Yeah, it's other people fighting over his soul.
Over his soul, yeah.
Ooh, Filoni.
Yeah. But, the one where he's going to kill the Tuskens, like, that is him. But yeah, it's still, like, a good call out. Like, something to get you talking. Anything else about the visuals or the music or sound effects or...
I think in 10 years or more, this movie will still be one of the best CGI.
2035?
I think. There's only I
don't know about that.
2 things that I nitpick about the prequels in general. CGI wise. But everything else is perfect.
What are the 2 things?
Maybe it's just one. The lightsaber lighting doesn't exist on in the physical environment. It's just there.
In the prequels?
Yeah. They don't cast a glow on the environment. Which I think they do a little too much in the shows.
Yes.
But
yeah.
And
they don't cut through things anymore.
Unless the plot calls for it.
Yeah.
That's my biggest gripe. But everything else is perfect.
Yeah.
Not 2 things, just one.
I don't think I think we will think back on it as being good for its era in 10, 20, 30 years. But I don't think it's going to be able to hold up. And I don't just mean environments and stuff. That stuff will probably hold up pretty well, but Yoda.
Yeah.
We just watched that scene.
His CGI is so good.
CGI is really good, but I don't think I don't think we'll be able to say yeah, this is as good as it is today in 20 years.
I don't know.
No.
I don't think CGI is going to get past
Yes, it will.
There's no way.
What do you mean?
Not in 30 years, I don't think.
So you haven't seen the newest Avatar, but I mean, you can see ripples in water and beads of sweat on people from 600 yards away in that movie. It's mind-blowing how good the CGI in that film is. And that was only 2 years ago.
And your viewpoint is something that so many people say, but they'll say it about something that maybe came out around that era. Let's say video games, for example. I remember when Tyler used to say, like, this was back on the 360 era, and be like, I don't really think that graphics are going to get any better than this. It's like, it's too good. And that was the Xbox 360 era. And, like, look what we have today. And, like, I know, like, a lot of modern movies maybe look similar to what those look like. Like, so it maybe doesn't feel like it's progressed that much. But it has.
Yeah. So we haven't quite got to the point where something that is like CGI or made to look real still looks animated.
Yeah. Like, you can tell that it's animated.
Versus if something was actually not animated or not CGI and was like, I don't know, I'm thinking of like an explosion, for example. Like, you can tell if something's being filmed and they use like real explosives versus if they CGI'd the whole thing.
Yeah.
We're still to that point where you can tell the difference.
Usually. Not always.
Not always. Not always. But for the most part, you can. But there will be a day where, like, you literally will not be able to tell. And it's, like, so immersive that it's like, that whole thing was CGI? That looked like real.
Yeah. And I'm mostly thinking of, like, characters like Yoda.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell that it's a CGI character.
Yeah.
But in 20, 30 years, I don't think you're going to be able to tell as much. Like, obviously, you're going to look at it and be like, yeah, that's not a real creature because we don't have that species in our world. So that's automatically going to make you think, like, that has to be not real. But it also is going to bridge the gap between, like, a puppet, like Grogu, or CGI.
Well, think about, like, just this past year, the Mufasa movie that came out. Like, those lions look so stinking real.
Yeah.
But they talk. So it's like, you know, it's obviously
Not.
like CGI.
Yeah.
But like, they're so real looking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more like, you said not environments.
Yeah. I do think the environments in this movie will hold up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm thinking more like the clones are all not real people, like, but they look real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's armor, so it's
you
not.
can tell
Yes,
that they're not.
a little bit. If you look at it too long. But if you were just watching the movie,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you would be able to.
I mean, I don't think we knew that when we were younger.
Yeah.
Nope.
That wasn't. I don't think we learned that until we got the DVD and, like, watched behind the scenes and like they said that.
Yeah. I mean, if you would ask like my nephews, like Milo and Lane, like things like this about like a movie they're watching, or if they watch Star Wars, like, do you think that person's really standing there like with a costume on? They'd be like, yeah,
Duh.
yeah. Like, to them, like, it is so real looking, and they're 7 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think we're close to the stage where movie and video game CGI are at the same level. Like, we're very close. I do think that.
I think it's about
I don't think so.
10 years behind.
I think it'll always be because movies, they use the same tools.
Yeah.
They use Unreal Engine or Unity or whatever. And they just have supercomputers that can handle that much detail. Whereas your PC or Xbox or whatever
Cannot.
Can't handle that. That's fair.
So they don't make games to take advantage of things like that.
Yeah.
But they could. But you're not going to be able to afford to run it.
Yeah. I think the graphics of the video games we're playing that are being released today, like in the last 3, 4, or 5 years, are better than this.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah. I agree.
Or at least close.
Yeah.
Depending on the game.
Yeah.
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 For sure.
Yeah. I agree.
So that's probably the gap is like 20 years.
Dang.
To like make sure that those graphics are now being affordable to normal people.
That's crazy.
But I'm pretty sure they used Unity on this because when I was watching that documentary, they mentioned it.
Yeah.
They mentioned Unity, and I'm assuming they meant the engine.
Yeah.
Which is a common video game engine. So
yeah.
I know for sure they use Unreal on modern stuff because they have like a deal with Epic right now.
Yeah.
Do you think, I mean, this is probably an obvious question, but do you think it's the best looking of the prequels?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, episode 1. It's actually the worst.
It's the worst because of Jar Jar, I think. But honestly,
all of Naboo.
There wasn't a lot of CGI in that movie. If you go back and look at making ofs.
If you go and watch it again and you go to the Naboo fight with the droids coming in, it's really bad.
What's really bad?
The
droids.
The droids, the grass.
Yeah.
The sky. It looks bad.
I don't think the sky is CGI.
I don't
Maybe
think
not the
it
sky,
looks
but like
that
just
bad.
the
They
environment.
filmed that on site.
Pull it up.
No, I believe you on like the CGI part,
Yeah.
like the droids and stuff.
Yeah.
I
But
believe.
for its
And all the
time,
Gungans.
what was that, 99?
Yeah, it's good for the time, but like 5 years later.
I mean, also have to remember that like Jurassic Park existed.
Which is also
But they
Lucasfilm.
combined CGI and
Animatronics.
in that. But yeah.
That's the only scene that I can think of from that movie that's noticeable. Everything else, like the fish and like everything
Looks pretty good, yeah.
But like that scene specifically, I'm like
the lighting is off with the droids.
yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about, yeah.
This is like, what are we?
Like
Did
those
we forget to do something?
Yeah, those don't look like they have shadows on them at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, bridging the gap. Do we feel like it bridged the gap to A New Hope well enough? Or has other media improved upon that goal? Or does it better? And I don't just mean like, Rogue One takes place like right up to it.
Mm-hmm.
I just mean like in terms of plot. And you could argue that the Rogue One plot isn't that important to the grand scheme of things, of the films.
I do think it bridges the gap pretty freaking well.
Yeah.
It like sets up Luke's origin story of not only being
birthed,
born, but also where he's gonna reside for the rest of his life.
Right.
And also Leia, I guess too. And then like sets up where Obi-Wan will be too, like all that stuff.
Like the Kenobi series? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
He's saying without the Kenobi series.
Oh.
Like the movie does enough.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think the movie does enough to set it up to where A New Hope makes sense.
Yeah. Like all of the stuff that has come out since this movie came out
Is just icing on the cake.
Yeah, it has never felt like we've needed it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people felt that way about the Kenobi show. Like, as soon as we heard about it, and even the book when it first came out, which they didn't use very much from the book, but it was just kind of like, do we really need this story?
Yeah.
And I don't think we do. I mean, yes, it's great that we do. Great some stuff came from it.
Mm-hmm.
Some not so great stuff came from it too, but it is definitely icing on the cake, but not necessary.
Yeah. I think we would have been better off getting singular films out of a lot of those rather than series.
Oh yeah, Kenobi should have been a movie.
Yeah.
Like it was supposed to be from the beginning.
The plan.
Yeah. Good old Disney.
I would say if nothing else had ever been made, and that was actually like the last piece of Star Wars made, I think it did it perfectly. I think it stands alone as bridging the gap. I think what has come out has just enhanced and like been, like I said, icing on the cake. Outside of, I think, Clone Wars, you could argue.
Well, that's the next question.
Oh,
because that was I was saying after.
Yeah.
To bridge the gap to A New Hope. But yeah, how has the Clone Wars expanded on that?
Yeah.
From before the film.
That one, I think, kind of showed?
Showed?
What?
I think he had a stroke, folks. It still is. He's stroking out.
Yes, it showed a gap in parts of the film that I think viewers wanted. Didn't know they wanted until they got it, and then they were like, oh, we want more of this.
Yeah. And I think it was something that George had wanted to do from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But he could only get 3 movies done. Maybe, I don't remember if it was because he could only get 3 approved by Fox or whatever, but...
Or maybe to keep it in the cadence of a trilogy.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. 2 trilogies.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly...
It could have been its own trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it should have been. Or it should have been a live-action show, but, that was... Back then, you wouldn't do that. Because that would mean, like, super low budget and not good acting. And, like, that's just the nature of TV back then. But it's weird thinking now of a time with that, like, we had without Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Even though we grew up that way, it's weird watching the movie without all of that stuff in your head, you know?
Yeah.
Like, knowing that Ahsoka was, involved, and, like, Anakin had an apprentice.
That failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like such a big part of his arc that you just don't get in the movie. That definitely enhances his struggle with the Jedi because of what happened with her.
Yeah, you almost need it now.
I wouldn't say you need it, but...
To answer your second part of this question, is it required to get a satisfying and complete story now? I would argue...
that it is.
Not need, but it is better, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's a better experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes things that happen in that film make more sense. It ties in things like more sweetly to like the overall trilogy.
Would you have said that before we got season 7?
I wouldn't have.
No.
Because we didn't get that until, was it 2020 or 2021?
COVID.
Yeah. That season does like actually give like the final like chef's kiss to it.
Yeah.
I would say the season prior to that, so season 6, was...
Yeah. Because
really
isn't that season 6 when Ahsoka leaves?
Yeah.
Or is that 5?
5, she leaves. So we had a whole season of Anakin and Obi-Wan without Ahsoka. And just the world, or the galaxy. Wait, no. Was it 5?
Well, season 6 was the short one that had...
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because it was season 6 was short with the... It had the ones with Yoda. With the like visions that he went on.
Like the flashbacks.
Yeah. That was like the very last thing that happened in season 6. Because that was the last season for many years.
Yeah. But yeah, with season 7, so good. And just making this movie have so much more weight than that it already did. Like, it doubles the weight, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. If we didn't have season 7, I probably wouldn't say that it's as necessary, even though I do think Ahsoka leaving the Jedi is really important for Anakin.
Yeah.
I don't think it's required to know that.
Right.
But in addition to season 7, that just makes it much more necessary, I think.
Yeah.
So, like, for new viewers of Star Wars, we talked about this before. Like, I don't think it's required viewing.
No.
But for like a second viewing, definitely.
Yeah.
You should definitely jump into that to get that context for a whole bunch of stuff that happens in that show.
I can't remember what you said about that for required viewing. Did you include Rogue One in that?
No.
Is your required viewing just 1 through 6? Or 1 through 9?
My required viewing is just release order. So,
just the movies.
Well, yeah, if we're just going by the movies.
So
asking someone to sit down and watch a whole bunch of movies and like many seasons of shows is a lot to ask.
Well, we're just asking, like, would you throw any of those shows into that required?
For a first time view?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, for someone to get the best appreciation that you possibly could with the least amount of watching. What is your required viewing?
Just the movies.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother with the shows.
Just 1 through 6.
No, I would do all 9. And Rogue One, like, I'd do them all.
All movies. Okay.
Solo.
Yeah. But I would do it in release order.
Yeah.
Or maybe wait to do Solo at the very end, since it's like not.
You would have them watch Solo over Clone Wars?
Yeah. Wow. I'm not gonna make them watch 7 seasons of a show. With the early 3 seasons has a lot of filler in it.
There's no plot importance to Solo.
I know. The fun movie.
But there is plot importance to Clone Wars.
What? But my whole point of this question is I don't think it's required viewing.
But you think Solo is?
No. Oh. For Revenge of the Sith, no.
But my point is that Clone Wars would be. Or could be.
It could be. If you want it to be.
Well, I'm saying like it makes sense. It's not like it goes back to my question. If you had to have a person that has never seen Star Wars and didn't know what it was about, watch as little as possible, but still get the best.
As little as possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still get the best experience of like the plot of Star Wars and appreciate it. What do you have them watch?
Then yeah, I guess I would leave out Solo. It was like the least amount possible.
But still 1 through 9.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, you could leave out the sequels if you really wanted to, but like they're part of the story. It is what it is. Like you could say you don't like them, but like that's the story. Otherwise, you could say it's the same thing about the prequels. Like
I don't think you can say that about the prequels.
But the sequels involve original trilogy characters. Like you're going to need to know what happens to them. If you need to know how the original trilogy characters came to be with the prequels. especially if new movies are coming out after the sequels. Because if you don't watch the sequels, you're not going to know.
I see what you're saying.
Like, they're part of the story.
I would argue that it is a whole new story, and it is not the story. It's an extension beyond what I would consider is like the start to finish story. Like the start to finish story is Anakin Skywalker from
yeah, we've talked about this before.
From like baby to death.
Yeah, and I view it as the original trilogy as the original story because it was.
Well, I know, but like Darth Vader exists in 6 of the movies. He doesn't exist in 6 through 9. So in my opinion,
in your head, Anakin is the main character.
Yes.
And in my head, Luke is the main character.
But he doesn't exist. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now. Okay.
We talked about this before. Like, I view the prequels as prequels. Like, they're literally prequels to the main story. They explain why the main story is what it is and why those characters are the way they are.
Ever since he said that, I went back and watched all, not the sequels, but the original trilogy, and that's all I can think of now.
It's fine. We can disagree. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think we disagreed last time we talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, what if?
Yeah.
What if I don't want to be done with that conversation?
I know.
So, like,
I don't know how you can justify having someone watch episodes 7, 8, and 9 before you would have them watch Clone Wars. Because
if Clone Wars, I know Clone Wars is a movie, there is a movie, but if it was a movie, then I would. But 7 seasons is a lot to ask someone to watch to get full context when they don't know anything about this in the first place. That's very daunting. And it's external media. Like, it's not the main story. Like we just talked.
I have a question.
No, but what we just talked about with this movie, with Revenge of the Sith, is like it does tell you all you need to know, and it does it well.
Yeah.
And Clone Wars is not required for that, but it does enhance the experience.
Yes.
So what I was saying is a second watch. Yes, you should watch Clone Wars.
Okay. So
like if you want more.
Yeah.
And not everyone would.
Right. My argument to enhancing the experience is 7, 8, and 9 do not enhance my experience of the plot of Star Wars.
Okay, but they're there, and that's part of it. I guarantee not every episode of Clone Wars does either.
Well, no. And that's just the nature of a TV show. Like, you're going to have sucky episodes.
They're called episodes.
Yeah, but they're 3-hour episodes.
No, they're not.
2-hour episodes, whatever.
Yeah. But, like, it's context that you do need, even if they're not your favorite. Maybe they end up really liking them. Like, this happened with, I think it was David. When he went to go see those movies, he thought they were better. There are people out there that think they are better than the other movies. And like,
crazy.
I know, it's crazy, but like, especially with casual people or people that are watching for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, most people aren't going to dive that deep. Like, they're just going to watch it for entertainment.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure there's people out there that think that about the originals that like were our age in that time, and then now seeing like the prequels, they're like, there's people that like the prequels more than the originals.
Exactly.
They're insane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, part of it. And like I said, like, if you're wanting to get the full story, they are the full canon story now, even if you don't like it. And if you want to get them prepared for future things, like, just have them watch them. That's part of the story. And then if they want more, Clone Wars, Rebels, Obi-Wan, the Mando, Ahsoka.
No, I wouldn't have them watch Mando.
Really? Even if they wanted to? You're going to tell them not to?
No. The original question was for them to get the best viewing experience of the plot of Star Wars.
He's saying second round of watching.
Still with the same goal.
Oh. That wouldn't be the same goal ever.
What? Yeah.
After the first time.
Yeah, if their first time viewing through it is like, okay, what happened with this? Or why did this happen? Or what about this? And they still have questions that weren't answered in their first time viewing. Okay, what do you point to them next? Mando is last on my list unless they're asking about Boba Fett or something. But like, yeah, which is possible. But
yeah, that's why
my answer is 1 through 6. And then if they're like, oh, what about this, or what happens now, or like whatever, then you can point them in the directions to answer their questions. And if they're like, okay, well, what happened to Luke after the movie was over? Okay, well, here's 7 through 9. Or, well, what happened to this big gap where, nothing happened, but there's a war happening? Like, did they have anything about this? Oh, yeah, there's 10 seasons of a show about this. 7 seasons. Sorry.
I would argue that you could do that with any part of Star Wars.
Like if you only showed them 7 through 9, and they're like,
if you only showed them A New Hope, like,
yeah. I was thinking, like,
what do you want to do now?
If you started with the original trilogy, then you could just say that's the story, like you do, and then.
Like, hey, do you want to know how Darth Vader became Darth Vader?
Yeah, then you do that. Or if they rather be like, what happened to Luke, then you'd go that way. And then, like, you could do that with any section.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's why I would
So what would be your actual
always.
True answer if it was to have them watch the least amount of possible, but still get the, like, best story of the franchise with the least amount of watching?
By best story, you mean like the best that the franchise has to offer? Or
no,
getting the full story?
The required full story.
I would do 1 through 9.
Like, okay, let me do this. If you had to write down on a piece of paper,
that doesn't change the answer.
No. Right. No, we'll transfer to the movie part. If you had to write down on a piece of paper in the least amount of words the story of Star Wars, like, what are you writing down? And then just translate that to the films. What films do you have someone watch to get what you just wrote down on the piece of paper? And I think you have to have 1 through 6.
Yes.
That is the minimum amount.
I would say 9.
What?
1 through 9.
Yeah.
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 Like, just because you don't like them doesn't mean they're not part of the story.
But how they Okay. George Lucas wrote 4, 5, and 6. He wrote the end of the story first. And then he went back and wrote the beginning of the story. So 7, 8, and 9 is extra. It is in addition to what his original intention was.
Yeah.
So that can't be required watching to his intended plot from start to finish, because 1 through 6 is his intended start and finish
Star
plot.
Wars is way bigger than George Lucas now.
I know.
What?
But all the extra stuff isn't the original story. If they don't exist, this story is still perfect as it is. It's not like if that didn't exist, we would be missing.
But you could say that about the prequels too.
No, that is how Anakin came to be.
Right. But
that's not George's main character.
Yeah.
How is it not?
Because Luke is.
He said that?
Yeah.
No.
That's why he made it in the order that he did.
It's also named after him.
What?
Lucas.
Is that why he named the character that?
I don't know. I don't know.
So he has said that the story is about Luke?
Yeah.
I need to see a clip of him saying this, because I don't believe it.
I think so.
Why else would he start with Luke's story?
Okay, then why... If the story is about Luke, why didn't the 3 films going back start with Luke as a baby? We didn't get any of Luke's childhood.
Because the prequels are about Anakin.
Then Anakin is the main character because he's in all 6. You don't go make 3 more films about a side character and have it as like the entire series.
It's about the generations. Like, the whole point, and this isn't what he originally wrote, like Vader wasn't supposed to be his father in the original. That was something he came up with later. But he wanted it to be a story about the family generations. So, like, Luke was the main character of the original trilogy, and the whole point of those movies is to show his growth into becoming a Jedi Knight like his father, but also redeeming his father. And he wanted to show the generational leap from Anakin to that. Like, it just makes sense.
The parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would still do 9 because Luke is in the sequels as well.
And Palpatine ends up being at the end.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. Not many people do, but
No.
It is what it is.
My question is, when's the last time you watched through Clone Wars?
COVID.
Oh, okay. Oh, you watched it for the new season?
Yeah. Yeah. When 7 came out, that's when I watched through it again to prepare for it.
Okay.
I think I did too.
Yeah. I did too, I think. Here before that.
Because I remember watching it through at that apartment. And yeah, there's a lot of not great stuff.
In Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's some episodes that are just total snoozers that you're like...
Like, anytime Jar Jar shows up, skip.
Almost say like 50% of the episodes are unnecessary.
Oh, yeah. But the ones that are good are just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think there is a Reddit post of someone that put together a list of the required watches for Clone Wars that actually are like canon plot moving episodes.
And good.
And good, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably say if I was to watch it through again, I'd probably just do those episodes.
Yeah, it's like 3 a season. It's really not that much. They get more as the seasons go on.
Yeah, because they get better and better.
Like the first 2 seasons, there's like 1 or 2 episodes in each of the seasons, and then 3 has like 3, and then 4 has like 4 or 5, and then by the time you get to like season 7, it's like all the episodes.
Yeah, all but 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's probably what I would say for the second viewing, or like additional viewing. Like, if you don't want to watch all 7 seasons, here's a list of like the good arcs and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I would have Rogue One on the list before Clone Wars, I think.
Me too, just because it's so cohesive with A New Hope.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I might even include it like 1 through 6 plus that, just because it's a nice tie-in. If I'm not including 7, 8, 9, then I'll include Rogue One.
But then that goes against your argument completely.
I know.
oh goodness.
But yeah, Rogue One
I
is
see
good.
what you mean with the 1 through 6.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Okay, so it's not like I'm...
No.
Okay.
And I guarantee a lot of people watching are going to agree with you.
Am I crazy?
Okay.
Just because people don't like the sequels, but like,
Yeah.
just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not there. But you can choose to believe it's not, like, but I don't know. Like, if you're telling someone not to watch something because you don't like it, like, let them watch it and make their own judgment,
Well, I don't want them... If they were bad, but connected more with the story, I don't think I would feel the same way I do. But I think it is just a whole new story. And of course it's related, but like it's just a totally different story. It's not the story.
I think you could still make that argument with the prequels.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's more connected than you think it is.
You find every single character and every single thing that happens in 1, 2, and 3 is directly related to 4, 5, and 6. Every single thing.
But
you see Yoda. You have the destruction of the Jedi Council, which now no longer exists in 4, 5, and 6. You have Obi-Wan's arc and finding out why he is where he is in episode 4. You see the development of Anakin into Darth Vader. You see where Luke and Leia even came from. You see their mother, how Anakin and Padmé even like met. Like every single thing.
But you could say stuff like that for the sequels.
What? No, you cannot. Who the heck is Rey?
Well, you eventually learn that she's the granddaughter of Palpatine, but you see Han and Chewie, and you learn that he and Leia did get married and had a son, but then they got divorced or whatever, or separated. And his son, trained with Luke at Luke's academy and fell to the dark side. And now he's with this new First Order, and you don't find out that it's related to the Empire until later, but it is. It's a remnant of the Empire. And then you learn that Palpatine has been orchestrating it all, and there's Yoda. He shows up as a Force ghost, and Luke does eventually show up at the end of the first one, and then helps to train Rey, and Rey learns how to be a Jedi. And
How have you watched them back to back?
I think you need to do a rewatch.
1 through 9?
No.
7, 8, and
7,
9?
8, 9 together.
I watched like maybe 2 or 3 months ago. I watched 7 and did like halfway through 8.
7's the best one.
I agree.
Yeah.
But them all 3 together make a little bit more sense when you go through them.
Yeah.
They're more enjoyable that way.
That's a better word.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, the Force Awakens is like the first 15 minutes of The Force Awakens is like some of the best Star Wars, in my opinion.
yeah.
Because like you don't
on Jakku.
Yeah, like Kylo Ren coming in with those stormtroopers, and like you don't know anything about him.
Yeah,
but he's a dark side user, and he like freezes that blaster bolt.
Yeah, actually, that's not on Jakku.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's on
Rey is on Jakku. They crash land on Jakku.
Forget, it's not Jakku though.
Jakku's the desert planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first planet they're on.
It is Jakku.
It is.
Yes.
That's why they're
because
there.
He, Poe leaves BB-8 on the planet, and then they find Rey.
Yeah, because they capture Poe.
Oh yeah, he does go off
so
like.
Jakku, but it's dark nighttime.
Yeah, it's just nighttime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I was so confident about it was because of Lego Star Wars. It's like, yeah, because you can go to that same place and the same planet. Like, it's the same thing.
Okay, fair.
All right. What if for Revenge of the Sith? Back on that topic. So I just wrote down a couple of like what if scenarios, and then like you guys can like if you have any that you can think of can bring those up. But one that I saw recently was this: what if Anakin had yelled "I had to" instead of "I hate you"? Like, wouldn't that kind of make it a little more like him trying to like make Obi-Wan understand of why he's doing what he's doing?
Yeah.
Rather than
it makes it even more sad.
Yeah.
I wonder if Anakin had yelled that had Obi-Wan turned back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And help him. I think he would help him.
Yeah.
Or turn back and kill him. I had to just kick him in the face.
Just roll him over the hill into the fire. Just like officially.
Here you go.
No, like turn back to maybe ask more questions or like say something more to him.
Yeah.
Because he, there in that scene, like he turns away and like doesn't, that's the last thing you hear of the two of them.
Yeah.
Dang.
But like if he said I had to, then maybe Obi-Wan would have like turned back around and been like, why?
Yeah.
Had to what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't think at this point, like Obi-Wan actually truly knew why any of this happened.
I mean, besides their conversation before the fight, like, or mid-fight, I guess, on...
Yeah, but he still doesn't tell Obi-Wan this is all to save...
No, he doesn't
because
say
of a
that.
vision.
But he does say, like, I think the Jedi's evil, blah, 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 like...
Yeah, but that's not even really the real reason.
No.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that they had was that Anakin kept secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even though we find out in the Clone Wars that he knows that Obi-Wan knows about Padmé.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obvious from the film that like that he knows about that.
Yeah. But
well, in the film, he specifically asked Padmé, "Is Anakin the father?"
Yeah.
But that's really all that is specifically said.
Yeah.
It's never implied that Anakin knew that Obi-Wan knew.
Exactly. Like maybe Obi-Wan knew. Like that was maybe kind of implied, but we didn't know Anakin knew that he knew.
Yes.
So that would have explained why he was still keeping secrets even till the very end.
Yeah.
Rather than like asking him for help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that one was interesting. What if Padmé survived? Would she have been the one to bring Anakin back to the light side later on? I think yes. I think that's a for sure yes.
Yeah, I also think she would be the leader of the rebellion.
Well, they both would, probably.
Well, would the rebellion still exist?
Yeah, because Palpatine would still be there.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm imagining, like, he still goes and, like, becomes Vader in the suit and everything. Mm-hmm. And, like, she has the babies and then she lives. So everything to that point is still the same, but then like there's got to be some time between that happens and then like he finds out that she's alive, or like she like goes to him, like something like that would happen. And yeah, I think he would just immediately turn, because the whole reason he did this was to save her from dying.
I think it would depend on how much time had passed. If it was like less than a year, I think it's still early enough that like he probably could. But I mean, if it was like a decade later and like the kids were grown up a little bit, or like Kenobi season time frame where they're like 6, 7, I don't know how old she's depicted in that movie. Leia is.
I think they're 10.
10? Okay, so.
Yeah, because they're 19 in A New Hope.
Okay, so yeah, it's like a decade goes. I think no. Even seeing them, I actually think it would be make him entrench even deeper.
Really?
Yeah, because of the anger and like lies of everyone on that side. Like he would somehow think that like they were, I don't know.
It was like not true. It was like a trick or something.
Yeah, like they were tricking him from the very beginning, and like she was in on it, and like I don't know. I think the longer it goes, the more the Chancellor or Palpatine could just continue to twist, and there's just no return.
I still think he mourns Padme in the suit in the comics.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's multiple scenes where he's actively like looking for like any, not like hint that she's alive, but just any way to like find out more about her life and like what happened to her body, and like he goes back to Naboo and like talks with her, like one of her handmaidens, or like multiple of her handmaidens or something like that, and like
terrifying at all.
Yeah.
They all look
or like her decoys, like because he's like basically looking at her face, and it's like messing him up emotionally. Like he still feels like it's still Anakin, you know.
He visits her grave, I think, too.
Yeah,
multiple times.
Yeah.
I think he would turn back knowing that she's alive.
Yeah.
You know how love is. There's no way he wouldn't.
But I don't think it would be as simple as like, oh, I'm on the light side now.
Yeah.
Let's go get Palpatine. Like, Palpatine probably would have like some contingency plan.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, he probably rigged his suit.
Yeah, like there's something that he would do to like force him, or like he would just try to go kill her.
Yeah.
Or do something.
Dang.
That's a good what if.
Yeah. What if Obi-Wan actually killed Anakin? Would the Empire look different without Vader? And would Luke have killed Palpatine in Return of the Jedi without Anakin's help?
I just don't think we'd have the same story at all.
Well, no.
That's the point.
Like, I don't think we'd have...
I mean, if you think about, like, obviously Luke was already born by the time, like, if Obi-Wan had killed Anakin, and I'm thinking, like we just talked about, he just kicks him right into the lava. So that's where he dies. So Luke and Leia are born, and there's, I guess you could say they not necessarily would have to be sent to where they were, but let's assume they are. So Luke is still on Tatooine with the Lars family. Like everything's still
Why would
the same.
they be sent elsewhere if he was dead?
I don't know, because
he thinks he's dead at that moment anyways.
That's true. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Like, let's keep it the same.
Oh, okay.
That wouldn't change.
Yeah.
Because Yeah, he's fearing of Palpatine because Palpatine knows everything.
Yeah, and they're expecting the children to be strong in the Force and everything.
That is true.
Yeah.
But after that, New Hope would be different.
How? Like, just because it's not Vader doesn't mean there's not some other kind of, like, enforcer. Like,
Okay, maybe a New Hope would be...
maybe Inquisitor or just, Tarkin. Like, someone important in the Empire is, like, if you think A New Hope, like, they're chasing down or Rogue One and A New Hope. Like, they're chasing down the Death Star plans. You don't need Vader for that.
Don't need Vader at all.
Yeah.
Do you need Vader at all in 4, 5, and 6?
No, because it's about Luke. No, I think... So the last question is, would Luke have killed Palpatine in Return of the Jedi without Anakin's help? And I don't think he would have.
No way.
No.
I mean, Palpatine was super old, but he's still super powerful.
And
So the first time that he fights Vader, though, that would not have happened.
in 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't have happened. That whole movie would have no purpose. Right?
It just would be different. Luke's like...
He probably would have just fought somebody else.
Like, he would go to Dagobah to train with Yoda, and he would have no point of leaving that training because he doesn't have a dad.
He doesn't learn it's his dad until the end of the movie.
I know, but he would not have...
Sorry,
He's fatherless and alone.
This training isn't going to work. You don't have a dad. It just would be different training and different motivations for him.
I think it would be the same because he didn't know about he didn't know Vader was his father until the end of that movie. So until then,
he knows about Vader.
Yeah, but until then it was just like the right hand of Palpatine. If Vader had died, if Anakin had died, Palpatine would have found somebody else. Like, it's the rule of 2. So let's just imagine that Palpatine just found another apprentice.
Yeah.
Like the Grand Inquisitor or something. Like, let's just say it's him.
Yeah.
Which it probably would have been. Because he was the number 3, basically, for a while. I think most of that would have been the same.
Yeah.
Other than, like, him saying he's his father.
Like, Andor would be, like, completely different.
Yeah, that's where things go wrong, because Luke
knows he's his dad.
Luke goes because, yeah.
To go save dad. Yeah.
Get a little pappy.
Yeah, so that movie, number 6.
That's when it kind of goes a little different.
Man.
Although I think he still probably would have gone to fight him.
I don't think so.
Because that was kind of his role. Even if it wasn't his father, he still needed to face him.
But I think...
That's what I'm saying. I don't think his motivations would have been...
It would have been the same. But he still wanted to be a Jedi. He was still a Jedi at that point, and he needed to...
Like my father before me.
Yeah. Still would have said that. I don't know.
I don't think he would go to the Death Star by himself.
You think he would have
himself to the...
taken Chewie with him?
Yeah, for sure. R2.
R2.
I don't know. That is crazy.
Because he really didn't need to be on the ground battle in the first place.
Another side of that is I'm probably thinking that Vader is somewhat of the reason for the success of the Empire becoming what it was.
Yeah.
So would they have as big of a footprint as they would across the galaxy.
Probably not.
Or would they have actually successfully hunted down and killed all of the Jedi they did?
Yeah, we know how bad the Inquisitors were at it, so...
I would say they would still be hunting Jedi.
Yeah.
Up until episode 6, at least.
Probably.
Well, so if you think if they're not as good as Vader wants them to be, and if Vader doesn't exist, is there a window of opportunity for the Jedi to make a resurgence?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a better...
Without Luke. I think they could have done it way before.
Yeah.
Or... Yeah.
Through the path.
Yeah. I would say in addition to Luke, and then Luke could have trained with more than just Yoda, maybe.
Yeah.
And could have still joined them. Could have had a whole bunch of Jedi go onto the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been sick.
Wow.
Get Quinlan Voss and Cal and Ahsoka.
Ezra.
Yeah, I'm thinking immediately after Anakin is killed, and he's actually killed in this what if scenario. And when Obi-Wan is with Yoda trying to figure out what we do next.
At the end of this movie?
Yeah.
Mm.
Instead of going into hiding, because they're thinking there's no more Jedi, they're just going to hunt everyone down and kill them. If Vader's actually dead, which it's kind of weird that they don't do this, because they would assume that he is dead.
Well, yeah, I don't think that would have changed, because like I said, they're just going to find more people, another apprentice or whatever, to come do it. And they wouldn't know that he, if it's the Grand Inquisitor, they wouldn't know that he's bad at it.
Yeah.
Really bad at your job.
I mean, compared to Vader, at least.
Yeah.
So,
maybe not then.
And maybe they weren't originally planning on being in hiding for as long as they were.
Yeah.
Do you think Palpatine had a backup to Anakin?
I don't know. Maybe that's what the Grand Inquisitor was. I would think it's someone that was in the picture.
I wonder if it would have been Asajj. Just knowing her experience. Even though they weren't together ever, but also she got kicked out by Dooku at this time of the movie. Right?
Yeah.
But I still think, Palpatine could have sought her out.
Yeah.
Maybe. I wonder who... It'd be an interesting duel between Asajj and the Grand Inquisitor. Wonder who would be more powerful. Because Asajj isn't that powerful.
No, but I don't think the Grand Inquisitor is all that powerful, too.
I know.
Because he's just an ex-Temple Guard, isn't he?
Yeah. So, he had lots of training. But, Ezra put up a fight with him. So, yeah.
An ex-Jedi Temple Guard?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he was the third backup.
I mean...
during this movie. Do you think he... Because, that all happened like that. With the temple being ransacked.
No. Then no. He would have still been guarding the temple.
Right.
You're thinking of
Or did he?
Or he
right
was...
this way, my guy.
He's the one who lets it.
I mean, that would be interesting.
Theory. That's a theory.
That's so funny.
But we see him in Tales of the Empire last year with Barriss.
Yeah.
They took her real quick from like being imprisoned to being an Inquisitor in training.
He already had it set up and everything.
Yeah, he was ready.
Oh, man.
All he needed was the power to
Save the ones you love.
No. I guess he already had the power, but he needed the Jedi gone to take the imprisoned Jedi for himself. The ones that were like dark side people. So in this section, I also have the deleted scenes because they're kind of like what ifs. Some of them are like so bad, like dialogue wise, but they're like hilarious. Especially on Grievous's ship, the Invisible Hand. There's a couple where like it's Anakin and Obi-Wan, and they're like still trying to like find Palpatine or whatever and save him. But like they go into the elevator, and then there's the scene in the movie where like they like get in, and then like they turn around and like see the droids, and then they like kill all the droids. But before that, in the deleted scene, there's like a scene where they're like trying to get to another elevator, and then they go to a floor and there's a bunch of droids, and then they back up, and then they do that. But then after that, they're like, after they're all dead, they both go like, Roger, Roger, Roger. Like, no.
Yeah, it's
no.
Cringe.
There's a couple other things. The worst part by far is when Anakin is trying to like translate R2's beeps.
Yep. Beep, boop, bop.
Yeah,
beep, beep,
literally says beep, boop,
beep
bop.
is up, boop is down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bad.
Oh.
And then Obi-Wan's like, no, I think it's up. Boop is up and beep is down.
Yeah. It's like, even if that was in the Clone Wars, that would be cringe.
Yes.
Yeah. And then a couple other things that are interesting is Shakti dies twice in two different scenes. She dies in that scene on Grievous's ship. He like has her as a prisoner, and Anakin and Obi-Wan come up, and then he calls them stinking Jedi, and then he stabs her in the back. And then the other really bad line is Anakin goes, "That was a really bad," and then Obi-Wan says, "mistake." But there's like a really
weird pause.
Really weird pause where like they didn't, like it was like maybe one take and they didn't like do anything else to like tighten it up. But even if they did tighten it up, that would have been really bad.
What's the second time she dies?
Order 66, when Anakin's in the temple, he walks in on her meditating, and he does the exact same stab in the back that Grievous did. Yeah, it's kind of an ongoing joke, or it used to be in the Legends.
I'm surprised they did that.
I think they were trying to figure out where to put her.
Oh yeah,
her
like
death.
they weren't going to actually have two of her deaths in the same movie.
Yeah,
you could tell the one in the temple was really early. Like they didn't finish it. Yeah, like him coming in wasn't even the same shot as her in the room. Like there's it's a completely different shot that they just stitched together. So, and even the one with Grievous is like the CGI is really rough. But I think it's a funny ongoing joke that they did after that, where she dies in the Lego Star Wars as well, because it's a deleted scene that they didn't know was going to be deleted. And then she dies in the Force Unleashed game. And then I think there's like maybe the comics or something, she dies. Like she has died more often than any other character in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's funny.
Does she die in the Clone Wars? Am I just imagining that? Or is that Bad Batch?
No, I don't know.
I don't think so.
Because she was one of the main masters, like in charge of the clone stuff. Yeah. For some reason, I'm thinking that she might have died on Camino or something.
They just purposely have her die on there.
Yeah.
We know she has already
because
died
we haven't seen her
7 times.
We haven't seen her die officially in canon yet.
Yeah, true.
So I couldn't remember if we actually did finally or not.
It's probably on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
has
not
never
gonna bother
died.
looking at it now, but the Obi-Wan and Grievous chase is super long. They shortened that like by probably like 70% in the final movie. There was a really cool scene in that. It was all just CG, like really rough CG, but they had a scene where he was on his like spinny bike thing, and they go through this tunnel, and there's like a train coming through the tunnel, and Obi-Wan's on his creature or whatever, and they are like going around and stuff.
Ooh.
And then Grievous goes into the train, and you just hear all the civilians dying and everything as he's like speeding through it. Dang. I thought that was really cool.
Creature? It's a Varactyl.
Specifically named Boga.
It's named?
Yeah. I thought that was the creature name, like the species name, for a long time.
Oh.
Because that's, I think the Lego set called it that we had. Also, at the end of that, instead of Obi-Wan like opening his chest and then like shooting, he literally opens his chest, grabs his heart, and throws it on the ground, and then grabs the gun and shoots his heart. Like, yeah, I'm glad they changed that. That's dark.
A little Indiana Jones action.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I thought that was a little too dark, and I'm sure that's why they changed it. Literally ripping out his heart. I mean, shooting his heart isn't any better, I guess,
No,
but
it's
it
cooler.
just...
Yeah.
Opens him with the Force? Or...
No, he just like pries it open.
Yeah,
but,
which he still does in the scene too, but...
And then Grievous notices, and he like punches him back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when he grabs the gun. And then I thought it was interesting they had in the duel with Palpatine and Yoda in the movie, Yoda falls and then tries to escape. So basically he's fleeing from the battle. But in this scene, they had Palpatine like get on one of the like floating things and like
fly away.
And Yoda is just standing there. And then ends up, they had clones shooting him and stuff. It was interesting. I don't know which one I would like better, because Palpatine fleeing is true to his character, but that would mean that Yoda didn't try his best, like go find him, like need to take him out.
Yeah.
Rather than like Yoda kind of being defeated and fleeing.
Jeez.
Yeah, I kind of like the one they chose.
Yeah. All right. Any other what ifs you guys can think of? I know we're...
What if Obi-Wan was the father of Luke and Leia?
Oh my gosh.
And there was actually an affair.
I saw a meme yesterday, I think. I should have shared it with you guys, but it was... You've probably seen it before. It was a shot of Anakin with Padmé, like, and her telling him that she's pregnant. But instead, it's Obi-Wan's face with the hair, like the buns on. It's him saying that. And then it just shows Anakin, like, waking up from his bad dream. It's so funny. Something wonderful has happened, Danny. Oh my God.
My favorite meme of Star Wars that I've seen in the last like couple weeks is when Anakin is just a little boy for the first time, like in front of the council doing like the tests or whatever. And I can't remember who it is that says this. But they say, Anakin, your thoughts dwell with your mother. And Anakin says, No, my thoughts went with your mother.
Yeah, that's one of the best
Yes.
ones.
That is
I die every
It's
time.
Kiadi Mundi. Yeah.
Yes.
Your mother. Yeah. Every time I think of that scene, though, I think of a mod for Jedi Academy where you could play as Kiadi Mundi, but his taunt that you could use, his voice taunt, was just "your mother." It was just that line from the movie, and so people would just spam that over and over. Your mother, your mother. So good. All right, so favorites. Which one of the things I had in here was favorite memes from the movie, and I listed a couple of the more popular ones, like "Hello there."
Yes.
What's your favorite meme from this movie? Because it's like one of the most legendary movies with memes.
I think the one I quote the most is "This is where the fun begins."
Yeah. There was one meme that one of you guys said earlier. Now I forget, but it's one of the more popular ones too.
Mustafa.
I don't think that's one.
It's the way that he says Mustafar. It's just like with his like raspy, dead inside voice. He's like Mustafa.
Yeah, I Am the Senate is a good one. There's so many that like have transcended Star Wars fans too. Like Hello There has transcended Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
by far.
yeah.
I think that's probably
That's like just him as an actor now. Like anytime he's on anything or at anything, it's just hello there.
Yeah, which is interesting because it was already they were copying a line from A New Hope that Ben
Guinness. Yeah.
that Ben Kenobi said. Like they were just trying to mirror that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. My favorite meme would be like because of Obi-Wan.
Because of Obi-Wan.
Yeah. And you just slapped on other lines from the movie. It's like, Annie, I'm pregnant because of Obi-Wan.
What's your favorite scene? I know Spencer's.
It's one of.
The opening scene is
We've talked about that on the show.
Yeah. That's definitely mine.
Yeah. That's probably my number one. Number two would be the
Temple March. Operation Nightfall.
Yeah.
Is what it's known as.
Love that name.
The K.
My third would be...
That's what it was called in Battlefront.
My third favorite would be when he goes to Mustafar to take out all of the...
Separatists?
Yes.
Like all of the slaughtering scenes.
I mean, it's when Anakin's his pride. And he like closes the doors.
Yes, that is a very cool scene. Cool.
And then you get like the slow turn with like the orange eye.
Afterwards, yeah.
Like his cool like lightsaber. Like he's not even doing anything. He just blocks.
Yeah, he like puts in no effort.
Yeah, he kills them all.
So we're giving our top three, I guess. So the intro is my top. Number two is probably, I guess you could still count it as the beginning, but like the scene where they fly into the hangar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anakin
just jumps out.
Or no, Obi-Wan jumps out.
Yeah,
which was opposite of what you would think. But I think it's because Anakin's was destroyed and he couldn't get out. But they both just clear the entire hangar by themselves.
And immediately start fighting.
Yeah.
Just right into battle.
Yeah.
Like
one of the
droids.
coolest moments.
Yeah.
Wait. Obi-Wan's was broken. So he had to like emergency exit.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Anakin just lands and gets out quick.
Yeah.
Because, doesn't want to hurt his ship.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest scenes. The duel with Dooku is probably my third. Like that.
So all three of yours are in the first 15 minutes?
Oh, it's such a good intro.
It is.
Yeah.
And like I love the end battle too, obviously. But like I don't know. There's something about all of those that are just it's just peak Star Wars right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the intro, definitely the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight. Yeah, the Dooku fight is probably up there for me too.
Yeah. I think the most disappointing scene, which I guess I could save this for like hot takes or whatever. I don't think it's a hot take. I think the Obi-Wan and Grievous fight was very disappointing.
Yeah.
It was over too quick. Like, it focused too much on the chase.
Yeah. There could have been a lot better lightsaber action.
Yeah.
Fight part of that.
Like, you don't give a character 4 lightsabers and not let him use them.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, you never do.
Yeah. I think that is probably one of the most controversial things about this whole film is the Grievous character was
as a whole
so had so much potential, and it was just like fell flat on its face.
I feel like they could have easily solved that with Dooku or him dying in episode 2, so that the other one could shine in the next film, taking that bigger role. Like, have Dooku die in the fight.
I mean,
Yoda.
Dooku died pretty early.
Yes.
But I see what you're saying.
But would you have 3 lightsaber fights in one movie?
Absolutely.
Okay.
4 actually would be great.
Yeah. Maybe 5. No, I get what you're saying. They should have introduced Grievous earlier in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grievous.
He is the general.
Yeah. Just so he didn't seem like he just came out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, they should have introduced him in episode 2 somehow.
Yeah. Like, maybe at the very end, like, show him, like, with the droid army or something like that. Like, this is our new general, or even just seeing him, I guess.
Yeah.
Not even mentioning him.
On a holo call with Palpatine.
Yeah.
Or Dooku, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we get more of him in the Clone Wars, but
yeah. Speaking of, though, like, that was a character that we saw in the Clone Wars cartoon before the movie came out, so we knew, those of us that watched them knew before who he was, but in that show, he was a completely different character.
Yeah.
Like, scary, killed so many Jedi.
Yeah.
And didn't talk too much, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie and in the Clone Wars animated show, like, he's just kind of like a
schemer.
like a scheming, like, mustache twirling villain that, like, always just tries to flee instead of fight.
Yeah.
So he's just not that scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes he is, but
Just because of his stature, really.
he's still a formidable opponent and villain, but, like, not to the degree that he was in that show when they set it up to be a Jedi killer.
Doesn't help that he went up against 2 of the greatest Jedi.
Well, I guess so. But
yeah, in the show, yeah, he could have definitely, like, killed a couple more Jedi.
yeah.
Although it's a kid's show. But that didn't hurt anybody.
I mean, yeah, we see Ahsoka decapitating people in that show. I think that's okay. Favorite part of the movie, like, not scene, but, like, music, action, CGI effects, the lore or world building or the characters. Like, what's your favorite, like, aspect of the movie?
Just time period for me. Like, the Galactic Republic at its height. Also, it's low.
Yeah.
Very peak and all the way.
With, like, just the army, the clone army, and, like, the ships. I mean, all of that. Just so cool.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing. It's like, I guess, just the clones.
Yeah.
And everything that comes with them. So, that's mine.
So So do you wish there was more clone-related things in the movie?
Yeah. Like the Clone Wars. Like, I wish...
Yeah, like more personalities.
Yeah. Like having... Like Obi-Wan having a conversation with Cody would have been cool.
They have a couple conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's...
I mean, that's when we first saw that they gave them, like, normal names.
Yeah.
And but had, like, somewhat of a personality.
More of that would have been cool.
Yeah. For sure. Like, would have been awesome to see Rex or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, now I know why that we don't, but still.
Yeah. I like the world building in this. I think it's cool to see, like, several new planets. Like, we get Kashyyyk and Mustafar and Utapau and, like, these worlds that, like, we had no idea even existed before this. And
they're unique.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Like, every planet that they introduced was unique. Not just another desert planet.
Yeah.
You know? Definitely that's, like, one of the best parts about this movie. So, yeah, like, let's count them all. Like, Utapau, Mustafar, Felucia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, the most unique one.
Kashyyyk.
Yeah, Kashyyyk.
Megiddo.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to be technical, like, the planet that Plo Koon was on was Cato Nemodia.
Mm-hmm. Was it really?
Yeah. We see Alderaan at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Tatooine, too, I guess.
Tatooine, Coruscant.
Does he go to Tatooine?
He drops off Luke.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, if you count Alderaan, then you count that. I feel like we're missing one. I just want to...
Isn't it Naboo?
I was thinking we might see it, but I don't...
I see it?
Doesn't she go to Naboo for something?
I don't think so.
Yeah, doesn't she go there because she's, like, pregnant and wants to go back there with the baby?
I don't know if we see it, though. I know that's a thing. I don't think we see...
Oh, Polis Massa.
Ooh.
You just had me thinking of what happens to her. Because I think that was her plan, was to do that.
Mm-hmm.
To raise their... That's what she talks about with him. To raise them on Naboo.
I thought
and I don't think
there was a scene of her there.
What if that happened?
What?
Like, she never went to Mustafar at all.
Oh.
And she went to Naboo instead and had the babies there.
That'd be crazy.
What if her water broke right then to keep her from going?
Well, yeah, because she goes with Obi-Wan, and that's how she dies, was because, like, Anakin choked her. So if she wasn't ever there...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Obi-Wan went with her.
That's a good point, too. Little stowaway.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. Which...
Oh, you don't think Obi-Wan knew that she was on the ship?
No, he
was on her ship. He snuck aboard her ship.
Yeah, you're right.
Because of Obi-Wan.
Because of Obi-Wan.
So you don't think she knew he was on the ship? I always assumed they came together.
No, she didn't know. Her reaction when he says, you brought him here to kill me, and she's like, oh no. Like, she double takes like 3 times. She had no idea. He sneaks on there.
I always thought that they came together.
No, why would he need to sneak if she knew?
I didn't think he was sneaking.
Yeah.
You want me to show you?
I think he was just standing up there.
He was, but he stowed away in like a storage compartment.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Because he talks to her, and then I guess he just gets the sense that she's going to go.
I have never seen that.
Really?
What about this?
Yeah. He
yeah. No, I see that part. I thought he was just sitting in a chair.
Sits in a closet.
Well, I don't know. I never saw him sneak onto there.
Really?
Holy crap. I thought they just came together. I thought he was like closing a door of a part of the ship that he was just going to sit in.
Perfect.
Yeah, so then whenever... I think that's why he got so mad. Because he thought that too.
Did not know.
Wow. That's interesting.
Learn something new.
I mean, it is a very quick thing, like showing him like sneaking
I
on
never
there.
noticed that he snuck on there. That's crazy.
So yeah, that was 10 planets
Yeah.
in one movie.
There's probably some we're missing.
Maybe.
But yeah, that's a lot. I don't even think there's 10 planets in the entire original trilogy.
You're probably right.
Let's see. Tatooine.
And more
Hoth.
Tatooine.
Endor.
Yavin 4.
Yavin 4.
Cloud City.
Cloud City.
Bespin.
Would you count the Death Star?
No.
No. But you could. It's a location.
It's not a planet, though.
That's no moon.
Yeah. Listen to Obi-Wan.
Oh, that's 5. That might be it.
There's gotta be...
Dagobah.
Dagobah, yeah. I think that's
Star
it.
2.
Huh?
Death Star 2.
Yeah, I think that's
Where
it.
do they do that parade?
Parade. The, like, medal ceremony? That's on Yavin 4.
Oh, it is. Okay.
At the end of 6, there's...
There's the different shots of...
Yeah, and that's in this non-original.
Yeah, so they show Coruscant and Naboo
Yeah.
and Bespin.
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't count that, no.
6.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's for sure one of the best parts about this movie.
Did you say one?
No, but I was going to say the music.
Makes sense.
I mean, I love everything else too, but like I think music is just the top for me.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we had our like MP3 players and like we didn't have iPods and definitely didn't have video iPods, but I was obsessed with this movie back then and I wanted to watch it all the time, but I couldn't because my MP3 player was just music. So my solution was to just rip the audio of the whole movie and put it on my MP3 player.
So you just listened to the movie?
I just listened to the movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's why you can quote it.
Yep.
So he's walking through the halls of middle school just listening to episode 3 Star Wars.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That
like,
and the soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack's good. I've definitely just like rocked to the soundtrack before.
Yeah. So that's what I was going with it, is like I listened to that soundtrack more than anything for like many, many years.
Yeah.
Like that was before I was into like contemporary music.
Yeah.
Like before I got into Switchfoot or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's what I listened to, was the episode 3 soundtrack.
Yeah.
Over and over. Before I had my MP3 player, I had this year-old CD player.
Yeah.
And I used that.
Yeah.
To listen to just that one CD.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that one is. It's beat up.
Used.
Actually in here? Nope.
R.I.P.
I don't know where the disc went. But I don't know what the second disc is.
Yeah, it's like those
I think this has a DVD in it.
those reels or like TikToks of the guys that like walk around like either like cities or campuses, and they just like walk up to people that are like have like earbuds in, and they're like, "What song are you listening to?" And they say it, and then like as they're walking away, they like play the song of what that person's listening to, and they'll do like 6 or 7 of them, so you get to hear like new songs and like what people are listening to, which is kind of cool. Like every once in a while they'll throw like a hilarious one in there, or like somebody is just like listening to the weirdest song ever, or someone will parody those videos.
Yeah.
And they'll walk up to their friend.
Yeah, I think I've seen the
and
parodies.
It's staged, and they say like, "Oh, I don't know, like the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song or something like something absolutely outlandish." And that would be really funny to like, "Oh, I'm listening to the audio of Star Wars Episode 3," and then you just hear like dialogue
because of Obi-Wan.
because of Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's listening to a movie.
I mean, nowadays it probably wouldn't even be that shocking.
Yeah, that would.
That's what a lot of people do.
Yeah,
or like
audiobooks these days.
Audiobooks,
Yeah.
or like people just, they're on their phone listening to what they're watching instead of watching it. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out because that's one of the reasons why I say music is my favorite thing, because I listen to it a lot.
Yeah,
and it's just such a good soundtrack.
It is, really.
And it's like what I like compare every other soundtrack to in my head. Like nothing.
That's the gold standard.
Yeah, nothing can top that.
Say the only thing that comes close is How to Train Your Dragon.
oh my god,
That soundtrack is
very good, but
Not Hercules?
close.
I thought that's what you were going to go with.
I should have.
that's the song I sing to Beckham every night. I don't sing it to him every night. Every night that I put him to bed, I sing that song to him.
What, 0 to Hero?
Yeah.
Just like that.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, gosh.
Good old Becky boy.
I don't know if I would put it as the number one score in my mind. I think Lord of the Rings tops it.
That's definitely number 2. Specifically, Return of the King.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely number 2.
Interesting.
I mean, there's so many similarities between those two movies anyways.
Oh, yeah.
It's like...
Yeah. I just think the movie scores, well, I think the soundtrack for those movies hit harder because of the, like, I don't know, the time period just seems like music fits better with what's happening on screen. Like when I watch these, the music doesn't quite like stand out as much while I'm watching it. But when I'm watching Lord of the Rings, like the music is like part, like I could tell you could play a song and I could tell you what's happening on the screen while that part of the song is playing.
I mean, I could probably do that with that movie too, but I could definitely do it for this one.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like,
I would do that when we would play Old Republic, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you'd be like, this is like the song when blah, blah, blah. It's like,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
Because it just plays music from the movies.
Yeah.
And I could do it with like other movies too, but
Yeah.
specifically the Revenge of the Sith songs, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is when Anakin's like looking out in the window, and,
Yeah.
like looking at Padmé.
This is when he's about to slaughter all the
Yeah.
Jedi. It's like, what?
Yeah. Or I mean, honestly, whenever we pulled up the Duel of the Fates, I knew exactly where to go.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, that's when Yoda is jumping off of the...
Yeah, that's when Yoda's like holding his lightsaber like this.
Roger, Roger.
Roger. Oh, that scene's never going to get out of my head of them saying that. It's so bad. Did you say yours? Or did you just agree with him?
I said
the lore.
Like the...
He said the world building, and I said I agreed with him, but I expanded upon
like
it
the
by
clones.
saying...
Oh, the clone. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Time period. Is what you
time
said.
period, like, yeah.
Okay. Favorite tie-in media. So there's a lot, probably more than just what I listed here, but things that like were based on the movie or tied directly into the movie. So like the video game adaptations, which we have displayed here. So like the main Revenge of the Sith video game, obviously Battlefront had a lot of Revenge of the Sith stuff in it, and then obviously Lego Star Wars, and the Game Boy games, the novelization. Oh, and Republic Commando.
Oh, Republic Commando.
Did I tell you guys I replayed that a few weeks ago?
Oh, did you? Was it as good as you remembered?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely needs a sequel.
Yeah.
Novelization of the movie, and then 2 books. One is a prequel and one's a like direct sequel that came out like with the movie. Labyrinth of Evil and Rise of Darth Vader. I have read Labyrinth of Evil, and I used to have it.
I used to have it?
Yeah. And I used to have the novelization, too. But I don't know where all my books went. And then, of course, the Clone Wars Cartoon Network cartoon and the Clone Wars 3D animated show are all the main ones. So what's your favorite of all of those?
Yeah, for me, there's only one correct answer, and it's Battlefront 2.
Yeah. It's so hard to pick for me. I love the Revenge of the Sith game.
It is really good.
It's one of the best like movie games ever made, along with Return of the King.
And King Kong.
And definitely King Kong, yeah.
I was not expecting you to say that.
It's a great game.
It's so good.
Really?
I think it's better than Revenge of the Sith for like a movie adaptation of or a video game adaptation of a movie.
I wouldn't say that, but it's still really good.
So good. You get to play as like 5 different characters throughout the movie.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you ever play as King Kong?
Oh yeah.
Okay. But most
you get
of
to
it,
fight T-Rexes.
Yeah, most of it you don't play as him though. Like you play as like one of the humans.
Yeah, you play as Jack.
I just remember like it was kind of stealthy. And you had to like throw spears or whatever.
Yeah, I mean there's multiple weapons. You had like a machine gun at one point. Sometimes you have like a club. Sometimes you have like a bone that you're holding or like a spear, and really good.
Yeah, I would like to replay that. Wonder if they have like not a remaster, but like a port of it on like the PlayStation or something.
Probably.
A couple months ago, I just watched the movie again.
Does it still hold up?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a movie that was ahead of its time. I mean, not actually ahead of its time, but like just really well done.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't try to make it like a whole franchise. They just like...
Yeah. I think it's so much better than any of the King Kong movies they've made recently.
Yeah.
I've only seen Kong Skull Island.
That one was fine.
Yeah. That was good.
So Battlefront 2 for you, Revenge of the Sith game for me, Lego Star Wars.
I would say...
Or the Clone Wars animated show.
Yeah, I mean, it's valid.
I'd say as a younger self, I grew up with the Lego Star Wars. But the Revenge of the Sith game is very, very good. So I'm going to go with that.
You played it more recently than us. Like 3 years ago?
Yeah. And I'd play it again.
Yeah, still holds up.
Like the combat is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I have a lightsaber.
Yeah, and the multiplayer was fun. Because you could like duel each other.
That's cool.
Yeah. Surprised no one picked the Clone Wars.
That'd probably be my second answer, or if you like, if I weren't able to pick specifically Battlefront 2 and I just had to say like video game adaptations as a whole, I would probably say Clone Wars over that, because it's just
right
that good of a project.
Yeah. I'd still probably pick Battlefront as my number 2. I like the Clone Wars, but just not that much.
Yeah.
You know? Like what we said before, like
50% of it is just
if you just
mush.
Pull out the important arcs, then I would like it more. But as a whole, it's just not.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
Compared to like Rebels, which is like pretty much entirely all good stuff. There's only like 1 or 2 filler episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the novelization is also very good.
I would like to read through the entire novelization and those other 2 books.
Yeah.
But reading takes so much time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm finally almost through Into the Dark, finally. I started it like a year ago.
Yeah. That's good. I like that one.
It is. It got really good, but, reading takes time.
Yep.
So, yeah, last section. Anybody have any hot takes on Revenge of the Sith? So this goes into the second question, like, what would you change in Revenge of the Sith? Like, certain scenes or dialogue or whatever. Mine was to explain Padmé's death a little clearer. That was one of my biggest gripes. They said, like, oh, she's just losing the will to live. And then, like, a lot of people would always say, like, oh, she died of a broken heart or whatever. But, like, I wish they had, like, would have explained that a little bit better. And one of the cool theories on why she died is that Palpatine, like, drained her life in order to save Anakin's life. Through the Force.
From that far away?
Yeah.
I thought she just choked to death.
No, she didn't die immediately. And they would have said died of asphyxiation.
But they did say she was perfectly healthy.
Yeah. Perfectly healthy, but losing the will to live. Which, in my mind, doesn't really make sense when you're having children. Like, if it's from an emotional standpoint. Like, I get that she would be hurt from Anakin's thing, but, like, she's about to have kids, Yeah. Like, if there's one reason for anyone to stay alive is to, like, have your own children and raise them, So I don't know. That's why I wish it was just, like, explained a little bit better. Like,
yeah, definitely.
What does perfectly healthy but losing the will to live mean? And why? There was another one you said earlier, one of you said. It was like something that you wish was different, and I can't remember what it was.
It was the scene where Anakin is confronting Palpatine. If they would have explained a little bit more how he was able to shroud the Jedi.
Yeah, and just have Anakin, like, be a little more curious of what he's getting into, probably. Because he didn't ask any questions. Yeah. He was just all in, which makes sense for the situation, I guess, but still, for an audience perspective, it would have been nice.
Yeah, now that you mention it.
There's probably a bunch that we could think of if we, like, went through every scene. But
yeah, I do have one little random hot take about Obi-Wan.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
I don't like his haircut.
Really?
In this movie. Yeah. I don't like the goatee plus, like...
That's a beard.
No, he's just got this, doesn't he?
No. Literally put it on it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's really long right here. It's a little bit shorter on the sides. Yeah, I don't like it.
I mean, they were trying to make him look more like Alec Guinness.
Yeah.
Any other hot takes?
I don't have any.
Perfect movie. Perfect.
I mean, there is a weird hot take about characters of how much they age between episode 3 and episode 4.
Yeah,
Yes.
Specifically Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's really bad. There was, I think, another... I guess it would be the parents of...
Yeah.
That are taken care of.
Yeah, so the theory is like the two sons on Tatooine just make it seem like they age farther, because the son does make you look older.
Yeah.
And if there's two sons, double the aging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that behind the scenes is just because they didn't know the full timeline and all that stuff, or didn't care. That's a big part of it.
They should have aged Obi-Wan more in episode 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and Anakin in like Return of the Jedi, when like Luke takes his helmet off,
Yeah.
is much older than what he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Looks like a shriveled old egg.
Because she's, well, either that or Anakin, like the timeline is not far back enough between the two trilogies.
Yeah. Yeah, they should have just made it farther back.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't do that. I mean,
What do you
they
mean?
really wanted to show Luke and Leia being born. I think that's what the main factor was. Because their ages are good.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that's consistent. They're like 1920.
Yeah. But Vader's supposed to be like 45 and he feels like he's 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Yeah. And Obi-Wan.
Well, I mean, if you never saw the sun and you lived in a Ziploc bag of a suit your entire
Trash bag.
25 years,
Yeah.
you probably would age twice as fast.
Yeah.
Or not at all. Takes off the helmet. Looks exactly the same. Just well
Like
preserved.
the digitally remastered version is just Hayden's face up there.
Edit number 75 of Return of the Jedi. Yeah, they already edited those too much. We're done with that. So, any other thoughts on Revenge of the Sith for its 20th anniversary? Are we gonna go see it in theaters?
We should.
Is there a theater that's playing it nearby?
I haven't checked.
At least one of us has it. That's going on the podcast set for sure. All right. Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversary. About to go into the theater for one of our favorite movies of all time. We've got the Vader head. We got the cups. So we are ready to go. All right, we are out of the theater of the Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversary. We are in front of a Minecraft movie poster because they don't have a poster here for this movie. So, do you guys have any thoughts of reactions of seeing this in theaters? For me and you again, but it's been 20 years, and for you for the first time.
Yeah, since you go first, it's your first time in theaters.
I think it was definitely worth coming to the theaters to watch it. Even if it's your favorite movie, you've seen it 10,000 times. But I definitely have even more love for it, just seeing it on the big screen. The sound is amazing. So yeah, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, and you said while we were in there that the sound just makes it
so much better.
Such a different experience.
Like you could feel the lightsaber battle in your seat.
And the ships flying by and everything, What about you?
For me, it was just the emotional roller coaster again. This time, obviously, you know what's going to happen, but just to see it on the big screen again is it's a testament to how incredible the film is, and the cinematography and the soundtrack, and it's just so good.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it was so good, and I still remember seeing it in theaters, but obviously that was a long time ago, and it felt the same in a good way, in all of the good ways. Especially that opening scene with the right after the crawl.
Oh yeah.
I'll never forget that the first time I saw it, and it felt like exactly the same. So great seeing the movie in theaters. Never gonna happen again, probably, unless 50th.
Will theaters still be a thing then?
Hopefully.
Probably not, honestly, but so that's that. We got our podcast up for this as well, showing our thoughts. This will probably go at the end of it, but yeah. Until next time. You are listening to Galaxy Bound Podcast. We do monthly episodes talking about all things Star Wars. We'd greatly appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe or follow us on whatever platform you are watching or listening from. It helps us grow and reach more people. You can follow us on social media on basically every platform out there at Galaxy Bound TV, or check us out at our website at galaxybound.tv for links to them all. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
That one, I think, kind of showed?
Shewed?
What?
I think he had a stroke, folks. It still is. He's stroking out.